The individual effort is what matters, a universal team, a true part. From raising funds for charities and doing good deeds overall, to advocating for causes and genuinely caring about others in need is an honourable call. Yes, all volunteers are lovely, no matter what they choose to do, because helping and kindness are things everyone should pursue. Respect and praise for volunteers is very important in this day and age, because people have busy lives. Volunteer work is priceless. Remember, no wage. Volunteers in history need to be cherished in memory as well, because their lovely soulful work inspires us to their stories tell. All volunteers are lovely. And that's by Wendy Joy Baker. So I thought that was quite fitting for Volunteer Week. Okay, so everyone knows where the toilets are. For those that don't, just outside the chamber on your right. If we need to evacuate, can we please go down the stairs out onto Space Street, use the lift. If we can please make sure that our phones are on silent, and just a reminder that these proceedings are being recorded for the purpose of live video, both live streaming and downloading, so by remaining in this meeting you consent to being filmed for viewing by the public. We've got apologies today from Councillors Byers, Duffy and Somerville, and we have Councillor Menzies online, I believe. Yes, she is. Morning, Christine. Can I please have are there any further apologies? Don't think so, no. Moved by Councillor Baker, seconded by Councillor Spraggan. All those in favour, please say aye. Aye. That is carried. Do we have any further leave of absence for anyone coming up? No time for holidays, we've got a long-term plan to go through. Are there any items on the agenda today that anyone has a conflict of interest in? We don't have any additional agenda items. I may change the order of the agenda a little bit depending on because we've got people speaking. We've got our minutes here from the 10th of June. Feels like it was a very long time ago. And it was not that far away. Councillor Dobson, seconded by Councillor Keast. Any discussion on those at all? You are happy. All those in favour, please say aye. Aye. Anyone against? That is carried. So we do have public participation today, and we have Ms Baker wanting to come and address the meeting. So I think we know that with you 5 minutes to speak to us. Welcome along.
Thanks. Thanks for saying that poem, and I have got a letter from the Minister for Volunteers from last year, and $6.4 billion volunteers contribute to the economy per year. So I'm going to pass that round. I'll have it back at the end, please. Right, so I'm going to start off with you should all have my petition about reducing council rates and expenditure, high costs like consultants' costs and other spending. That's on the Parliament website, as you can see. Up there you should all have that, and my submission, 21 pages, is on that. I've been a ratepayer, I'm just reading it out from my submission. I've been a ratepayer in New Zealand for over 25 years, having owned property in 4 areas, therefore I know about paying council rates in different situations and what's fair and what isn't. These are my medals for this year. I'm a very passionate, dedicated woman who puts a lot of effort, as you know, into things. I've worked in a council environment for nearly 8 years in past and know the true value of caring about ratepayers and respecting them and their dollars. In my role, I instigated various positive, proactive projects which give back to ratepayers and created positive, enhanced communities, and importantly, happy customers. I've stood, as you know, for local body elections, and my values have been about caring for ratepayers' dollars, improving core services, and reducing fancy high-cost expenditure. Also about fairness and user pay system suggestions. I have a diverse range of qualifications, including endorsed local government industry training organisation. I have volunteered, as you know, for over 40 years for various organisations, events, and including in 2026, cleaning council SDC signage, which should be maintained by SDC and done on a regular core service council schedule, but it isn't sometimes. My rates, as an example, in the position is too expensive in Southland District Council, and so are a lot of other people's. As stated in my petition, they've increased from 2,097 in 2026 2016 to 17 to 4,099 in 2025-26. Small rural town in nightcaps. Recently, I got a printout of the predicted Southland District Council rates for my property. I feel it's disrespectful increase to me of 15.71% in rates. I've got the breakdown all in this information of the 21 pages. So you're proposing as a 15% predicted rates $4,743 for the upcoming 2026-27 year. This projected $643 increase in my rates per year is not fair, and for small towns, not valid for the limited council services we get. For instance, I do not have stormwater drainage, curb and channel outside my property along the road. Therefore, why should I be charged the full rate for stormwater services? There is also rubbish bins costs, which should be a user pays system, and water users as well, because a person living on their own will use less than multiple occupied properties. In other words, some people get better value for rates than others, which is not right or not fair. There's high cost examples in my submission, and I detail them. For instance, the Mayor's vehicle purchase price of the car, $58,000, 60 council vehicles, book value $841,000, advertising and radio and newspaper $321,000, consultants cost $2,915,000, fancy toilets at Riverton $682,000, roading contracts paid $31 million. Additionally, this year I have been concerned about costs like the first edition publication. Last December, that cost $12,926 to produce for one issue. I've been, as you know, concerned about this for a while, and also a cost of one page in a newspaper was $900 plus GST for advertising. The Mayor's annual remuneration is $152,000, and I feel that's too much, and so is the CEO's. I won't go into that. Additional note, what also is very concerning is that Southland District Council has no customer service document and no RFS follow-up document either. Therefore, how can ratepayers be assured that they are being treated with fairness, respect, and that work accountability by staff council is efficient, fair and right? Not good enough having no customer service RFS document when council staff representatives work for the ratepayers. And remember that, you work for the ratepayers. What is also very concerning is the ongoing dog control issue in SDC area with 35 dog attacks in the 2024-25 year annual report. Therefore, safety issues and dog control staff need to be firmer on bylaws and other relevant Dog Control Act legislation to irresponsible dog owners. I have been this week rushed at by a dog, and there were 3 dogs actually near my property. Not good enough. All people, ratepayers in a community have the right to a safer place regarding uncontrolled dogs. A summary, throughout New Zealand, some ratepayers are concerned about increasing rates amount, unnecessary costs by council. It's time to stop the spending and reduce rates, care more, be fair, please.
Thank you for that, Wendy, and thank you once again for that poem. That was quite fitting for what you were saying. We've got a very full agenda, but I will invite councillors to ask any questions. We've got a couple of minutes left in our time. Are there any questions from the table? Cool. No, it looks like there aren't any. But yeah, thank you once again. I enjoy you coming along and sharing your concerns with us and your poetry as well. Really.
Yeah, it's a serious issue though. It's not just about volunteer week and stuff. You need to take all the serious issues, please. Thank you.
Coming in at the last minute. Wendy Joy, sorry for you. You mentioned that you were rushed by dogs.
Yeah, there is a video that I've actually I gave to Fiona. And so you need to actually follow up on that, because this is not on. There were 3 dogs. This is on Monday on the road reserve in Lion Street, uncontained, and yeah, it's actually very, very upsetting. And I care about the school kids. There's 2 schools in nightcaps, and people just care more and do more about dog control. I've been saying this for years, please.
So just just before you go, I presume you did do an RFS?
Yeah, it's all through. Yeah, but I tell you, on the RFS, on the online portal, you do not have rush or you do not have dog attacks on there. So it's something you need to have a look at, and you cannot upload videos to there. And if you're not on email like I am not at the moment, it's very hard to. You can only send a couple of photos. So yeah, there's some improvements that, as I've mentioned, could be really appreciated. And also you said about my volunteer work and would I be nominated for a volunteer award last year. What have you done about that?
Just one more before you go.
Oh, yeah.
You have indicated that you're not online, and I appreciate that. And
Email.
Email.
Yeah.
Do you have the Antenno app by chance?
No. That clogs up my phone.
Okay.
You've got to realise that some of these things, even email, clogs up the phone. Yeah. So thank you.
Thank you, Ellie. Okay, so our first report on the agenda is on page 11, and it's the Around the Mountains Cycle Trail Trust update. And just in the nick of time. Welcome Susan, Fran, and Nick up to the table. Great to have you back.
Yes.
As off as that you, Susan, or Nick?
I think Nicola's going to kick off. Thanks, Rob. The owner's just going. Am I driving? Oh, gosh. Is it the clicker or is it the...
You can use either or.
No. Kia ora koutou, no mai haere mai, tēnā koutou katoa. It's a pleasure to be here again, and as Scott has indicated back, that we normally do this annually, so it's a great opportunity for us to give you an update as councillors on the Around the Mountains Cycle Trail Trust. I am the chair of the Around the Mountains Cycle Trail Trust, and with me today is Susan McKenzie, the trail manager, who you're familiar with, and obviously Brand. Okay. So it'll be a tag team approach today. Both Susan and I have a few slides to update you on, and then there is a time for questions at the end. I'm under a strict time limit from the owner, as I understand you have a pretty extensive agenda today.
There we go.
As you'll all be aware, the Around the Mountains Cycle Trail Trust was established in October 2021. The trustees are listed up there. We have had a couple of changes in the last 18 months. Mark Frood has joined us as the Great South representative, and Councillor Matt Wilson has joined us as the Southland District Council representative. At this stage, I would just like to acknowledge Councillor Menzie's contribution. She was the Southland District Councillor representative since the Trust's inception in October. There was a raft of mahi that she worked across to help us get established and direct and funnel through Southland District Council as well. So I'd just like to acknowledge the hard mahi that she put in on the Trust as well. As we welcome Councillor Wilson too, and he's joined us for about 6 meetings, I think now, so we're enjoying having Councillor Wilson around the table. We met with Fran last year in July to go through the Memorandum of Understanding that we have. There was a 3-year cycle with that. It was a pleasure to go through that process. I think both parties were quite happy with how that memorandum was established, how it's sitting, and we've continued to renew that for a further 3 years. A strategic framework, which we workshopped when we were established, hasn't changed. Essentially, our strategic focuses are around the user experience, promotion, infrastructure, and stakeholder engagement. And they are key, those key 4 focuses that we're working through. Attracting locals and visitors to the region around user experience. Promotion is around awareness through our marketing efforts and partnerships. And infrastructure, delivering capital projects to enhance our enhance our infrastructure, and there's a big ticket item that we'll discuss and update you with our feasibility report as well. And obviously, which is ongoing and continual, is the stakeholder engagement piece. I'll now hand over to Susan.
Thanks, Meg. I'm going to give you some great statistics about cycle trails around New Zealand. So Angus and Associates did a study in 2005, and this was after their report that they completed in 2021. The 21 report was really after COVID and showed that there was a lot of domestic activity in the market, whereas the 2025 showed a more of a recovery with international visitors returning. So the big numbers that stack up are that cycle trails through New Zealand are generating 1.28 billion annually and 2.5 million trips. So if you think about that, it's a real tourism opportunity, and people love getting out and about on their bikes. There's 4.5 million visitor nights in 2025. So what that says locally for us for around the mountains is that we've got about 15,000 users, which is up 90% since 2021. We've got a mix of locals, domestic and international visitors coming to use our trail. So we've got about 28,000 visitor nights and an average spend of well over $1,000 per visitor. The community are saying that this provides a high quality experience, and the health and wellbeing benefits are that people are seeing improved wellbeing, improved physical fitness as well. So just in terms of people's experience and how much they enjoy it, really, we've seen strong growth year on year over the past 5 years, reflecting an increasing demand for cycle tourism. This season we have been slightly down, but just to put that in context, last year was a record year, and the decline was quite modest and consistent across the network. So other regions like Hawke's Bay and Otago have also seen slight decreases, and this is influenced by trail disruptions, infrastructure works, and Kiwis just really travelling internationally again after several years of staying local. Also, there's a wider range of tourism recreation options competing for the visitors. But importantly, we're still seeing strong seasonal peaks. The local businesses are reporting a clear uplift in March, and this is driven by events like Toi Aotearoa and Sounds to Sounds. So these really attract high-value multi-day riders who support our accommodation and hospitality. So we're seeing people enjoying multi-day experiences as well as just out doing day trips as well. And some of the feedback, you can see up there some of the snapshots. They love the scenery, the Vaughan Valley, the great infrastructure, the good surfaces, and good old Southland hospitality as well there. There's a couple of things for feedback for us which we're aware of and we're trying to work on as well, and that's a dedicated cycle path before it relates to Centre Hill, long-term accommodation as well in the Mavora area. These two graphs indicate from the rider survey March 2025 to 26. So this is looking at locals versus visitor. So the first graph compares local users versus visitors. So we're seeing a strong visitor component, which is important because that drives the economic spend. We're also seeing locals out enjoying the trail as well. So the second graph there, that shows that people are visiting because of the trail. So they're coming to Southland just because of the trail and to ride it. So that's really excellent. So this shows that we're both attracting visitors to the region and we're also adding value to those who come perhaps for different reasons as well. So just some of our marketing tools and campaigns. So over the past year, we've focused on building the trail's profile. We've done a lot of marketing activities. We've been involved with the Southern Way collaboration. We've featured in Air New Zealand's In-Flight magazine. We've been in the Australian Geographic campaign. And there's been liaisons with the New Zealand Cycle Trails and Great South to bring people across and for them to come and enjoy the trail and then write articles on it. So we're also doing, we have the website, the social media, our marketing, newsletters, and our official partner program as well. So something very new and exciting that's just had its world premiere is called Terrorbound, the Southern Way 1000. So this is a project with Otago. So they're trying to establish a 1,000 kilometre bikepacking tour, which starts in Queenstown and starts with our trail with around the mountains, and then they do a figure-8 loop through Otago and back. So they're trying to establish it as an international tour, something similar to the Tour Divide in Canada, and that's going to be promoted around Australia with the Big Film Bike Festival. So that's pretty exciting. Oh, yes, and it features, Kat, who, she's an absolute machine, and you'll see her throughout the film, and Paddy Gower as well. So it's great to have a bit of a celebrity face out there too. So just some more of our marketing. We've got the official partner program where we liaise with the New Zealand Cycle Trails with the Trade Directory, and we have our survey program as well, which is really important for us to pull these figures and data together. We have our social media, which we've been working on. We have over 120,000 Facebook page views. And this is New Zealand, and we're growing into the Australian audience as well.
Susan? So a key part of the establishment of the trust was around marketing and promotion, which is why we focused on that, and obviously around any sort of infrastructure and capital projects. And you may or may not remember, but last year we spoke around the process to develop our feasibility report, which was to look at the trail realignment between Mavora Lakes and Centre Hill, so that was to take that path off-road. The feasibility report was completed last year. It was done by Destination Planning, which is Rob McIntyre, who's done some work with Southland District Council previously and with our RTO in the region as well. The purpose of the feasibility report was to actually understand the proposed routes that were identified. Were they feasible? What was a proposed project cost? How could we achieve that? So there's quite a bit of mahi now that we've actually completed that feasibility report, but we're delighted to have that. As you'll all know, you need to be able to understand the feasibility of something to be able to work through. We believe the proposed route that we've looked at, and there is a slide coming up that shows the map, so it is not down the original Oreti Valley that had been indicated earlier on, but we actually believe that it's a superior option because it introduces riders to a vastly different, diverse and stunning environments, and it elevates the Around the Mountain Cycle Trail. It includes areas such as the South Mavora Lake, which is a World Heritage Site and a Lord of the Rings film location. It provides unique riding opportunities through mature beech forest with views along the Mararoa River as well as Bald Hill. And it's elevated riding along the slopes of Bald Hill, so it's impressive panoramic views, north to the Livingston Mountains, the upper Oreti Valley and south to the Takatumi Mountains. And it's across also those views of the quintessential southern rural landscapes. So what has been understood and looked at and is actually as the proposed route is offering a number of different options for us to enhance our trail. The key benefits up there, safety was number one and paramount and still is. As you'll be all aware, that main gravel road, which is into Mavora Lakes, is a high traffic area for caravans, boats. It's an 80-kilometre road, so safety is of paramount driver as well as user experience, and why we're looking at that. Obviously we'll see the feedback that we've been experiencing around that. Economic growth was worked through in the feasibility report around that as well, around the economic benefit to the region by enhancing this, as well as ensuring that regional connectivity. So we need to ensure that we are a connected trail network, and this is making sure that we're working alongside our neighbouring trails and partners to enhance the regional prospect and that regional, the Southland, that whole regional trail network that actually is enhancing and encourages that across the region. Total cost of the project is noted there. It's just under 39 kilometres long, and that is to maintain grade 2. So the grading of trails, obviously the higher the grade, the more difficult it is. So we're wanting to ensure, at the moment we're grade 2 with a couple of grade 3 options. Options are sort of grade 2/grade 3. We want to maintain that, which means that we open the audience far wider for those that can actually achieve the trail. So the action plan post the feasibility report, the Trust has been working quite hard around what we do with the next steps. It's all well and good to have your feasibility report, but to understand how we bring that to life. So we've released the feasibility report at the end of 2025 to our key stakeholders, those that were involved, and publicly. It's on our website, the full 96 pages. We do have a summary version as well, so that has been released. We've been then since working through the stakeholder engagement piece, so that is ongoing and works alongside the implementation plan as well. That doesn't stop. That's been quite a strategic part of this year. So we had the New Zealand Cycle Trail Board visit us in February this year. So the New Zealand Cycle Trail Board is the governance board of all the 23 great rides. They are made up of members from across the motu. There is a chair that is appointed by MB that sits on that group. It was really great to sit down and speak to them about the feasibility report, and then we took them through where the proposed route was for a day out, which was very well received. So much so that the New Zealand Cycle Trails Board will be providing and have provided a letter of support to us to enhance, to say that this is a priority project from their perspective to move forward. So that was fabulous. We've had engagement with the Southland District Council, councillors. We've met with the Northern Southland Community Board at our community meeting in May, and obviously the District Council management team as well. Hamu, DOC and iwi are also key stakeholders that were involved with the feasibility report, and we need to keep those engagements with them and keep going through that as well. The overall implementation plan has been developed with the Trust, along with feedback from Southland District Council as well. So we've looked at defining sections of the trail into distinct project phases. It's quite a big pot of money required for one particular project, so we need to be reasonably sensible about what actually can be achieved with that, with the sections of the trail. We've identified a priority order, and we've also developed an 8-year roadmap for delivery of that. After presenting the project to the Northern Southland Community Board at our community meeting in May, I'm delighted to say that the Community Board has acknowledged that they will provide a letter of support for the overarching project as well, which is fabulous to hear too. As I said, stakeholder engagement happens concurrently and continuously, and we need to keep working through that as a Trust. So this slide here, I apologise, the map is probably a little messy and difficult to read, but what we're just indicating here is our preferred route, which is in the sort of pinkish line down through there. And this is just to indicate how we've broken up the 38.4 kilometres into sections, and then how the Trust has worked through a decision matrix to define each stage's priority. So while we've looked at obviously the full trail, we needed to break that up. So there's 4 distinct sections and 4 priorities. The Trust used a criteria to measure each section against distance. So the impact cost versus kilometres, cost efficiency, safety, return on investment, consenting ease and user experience. The highest weightings when we went through that decision matrix were against the safety and user experience as outlined as well. So it's quite a robust process that we've worked through. You can see there that Section 3, Bald Hill Sidle, is our priority 1, followed by Kiwiburn to Cerebus, priority 2, priority 3, Centre Hill Descent, and Mavora to Kiwiburn is the priority 4. So the next steps for the Trust is obviously continued engagement across the number of different teams at Southland District Council, a key engagement with PAMU, who is across two of their PAMU funds, the land, Access, iwi, the New Zealand Cycle Trail Board, and MB, who funds the New Zealand Cycle Trails. We're developing a funding plan to deliver across the 8-year roadmap, and obviously a future focus sits down there as well. Just want to acknowledge too the accommodation piece at Mavora Lakes. So while this is incredibly important, the trail realignment, it's also acknowledging that accommodation at Mavora Lakes would be a game changer in terms of economic benefit as well as enhancing the trail. And so a future focus for us is around how do we develop that, not only the trail realigning, but an investment opportunity for private investment to look at actually how that be achieved within some key parameters. There is dock and PAMU land in there as well, but it's understanding what may be achieved. At the moment, there is a dock camping ground there. It's a non-powered camping ground, so you have sort of freedom camping area, but what can we look at that sits alongside that as well? So the 8-year roadmap identifies the timeline and key activities to be achieved within each section of the priority that we've identified, and that's from consenting and easements as well as further geotechnical assessments that would need to be developed. And the Trust is working to develop that funding plan that sits alongside that roadmap to deliver, which will include all funding options available to us and what the co-funding requirements will be, especially for any central government support moving forward. And that is my picture. Koto, thank you. Possibly have run over time, Fiona, but there's been a lot of hard mahi happen in the last 12 months. We're at a really good stage. Delighted again to be working with the Southland District Council team as well. Invite any questions, but also acknowledging that we do have a slot in one of your LTP workshops coming up, so there may be some more detailed discussions that we can have in that LTP as well.
No, thank you. And I kicked off this meeting talking about volunteers, and I think just also acknowledging that yourself and the rest of your Trust members are volunteers, and the work that's gone into the presentation, but informing that presentation as well. So I just want to really thank you on behalf of Council for all that great work that you're doing. And yeah, just to highlight your point, I think some of the more in-depth questions could probably be left for that LTP time. But I was going to start with one from myself. And you talked about the marketing promotion around lots of the New Zealand magazine. Do you see opportunities in that work with, I guess, the partner trails, Field and Trails Trust, Wakai Trails Trust, to help with that exposure for them, noting that they're also in that kind of volunteer funding space to work as a promoting the whole array of trails in that nation?
Absolutely, and I think that acknowledges, Mayor Scott, the regional aspect that the regional picture that needs to be taken about our whole trail network. I know Great South, the regional tourism organisation, but our regional development agency is working across a lot of that too, and having that connection of Mark on our Trust is helpful as well, because a lot of their work is around that regional picture. So how do we fit in? We do. Being one of the 23 great rides, that great ride marketing that we can sit with. Yeah. But that's one part for us. The other part is actually promoting the region as a whole. And we're very strong in the work that we do to say, if you're coming here, one of our quarterly newsletters, we talk about the region that goes to all of the potential people that are warm candidates as such that are thinking about doing the trail. Also talks about our trail, but stay longer. What other trails can you do and what else can you do in the region? So we try to play a part for the regional benefit as well and bring them around. But strength and connection, absolutely agree, and probably across all of our trail trusts. As you say, we're all volunteers and a bit time poor, but how do we collectively get together to work and be stronger?
Yeah, because you're not competing with each other, you're actually working.
Complementary, yeah, that's right.
Are there any other questions?
Oh yeah, through your worship. I actually watched that Terror-bound video, I think it was yesterday or the day before. I got sent a link from Jeff at the Central Otago Trails Trust. I'd just like to acknowledge the work that he's done in this space. He's been working on this for a long time. I believe it's quite independent from the Naharanga Trails Trust. which speaks volumes really in terms of the motivation and I guess that diversification of thought in terms of how we go about promoting this regionally, as you've just said. Really, a beautiful video, and I'm aware that it's going to, is it Australia, and then off to Europe as well. It's going to be screened in Europe as well. Really looking forward to the follow-up in terms of how that transpires in terms of the marketing and how that also links into some of the opportunities and risks associated with some of the further infrastructure that we need. You mentioned the accommodation as an example. And that also links into things like our health and safety and where we go for the likes of Marlborough Lakes and stuff like that. So a really cool video. Paddy Gower's a hoot, he really is, and he really did genuinely enjoy his time within, around the mountains and then through to Central Otago and stuff. So well done in that space.
Cool. Okay, thank you. Really appreciate you taking the time once again, and look forward to hearing more during that next workshop.
Thank you.
We've got a recommendation here that we note the information contained in the report, and we thank the Trust for their update, and I'm just going to extend that one and for their continued work as well. We really want to acknowledge all their great work. Do I have a mover for that? Councillor Keith, seconded by Councillor O'Brien. Further discussion, I'll put the motion. All those in favour, please say aye.
Aye.
Anyone against? That is carried. Okay, so I mentioned at the start of the meeting I might change the order of the agenda a bit, and I'm just conscious of the value of people's time, and I see we've got a couple of WasteNet people sitting in the public gallery there. I know they really enjoy coming along and watching our council meetings, but I'll give them the opportunity to carry on watching or to leave. But I'll jump through to 8.9 now on page 239, and they can stay in a second. Do we need anyone else with you, Fred? So you've all met Fiona before. You might not have met Paul. Yes. I think.
This is my first time.
First time I
Well, Paul. So Paul is the new Fiona. Welcome along.
Thank you.
Sorry, their Fiona, not our Fiona. Our Fiona's a replacement. Page 239 of the report. I'll hand over to Fran, Kevin.
Go straight to Fiona, I think, is probably best. I know we've got a long agenda, so we'll keep it nice and snappy.
So this paper has been brought through upon direction of the Waste Advisory Group. One of the focus areas for the Waste Advisory Group has been to revise the governance framework and the joint agreement under which it operates. One of the glaring deficiencies is around delegations. So this paper seeks to formalise delegations for that joint committee and for the members within the joint committee. It is the front end of a larger piece of work to ultimately update the joint agreement, but recognising that having delegations formalised is quite important at this stage, so hence this piece of work has come forward first. So you'll see a number of specific delegations, and that really relates to the current practice of the Waste Advisory Group and the financial decisions that are being made within that joint committee.
Nothing on add, Fran?
I think that's fine. Any questions, we're happy to receive those.
Do we have any questions? It's all pretty self-explanatory, just making sure we've got the right processes and, I guess, delegations intact. So if there aren't any questions, I can take us to our recommendation for A through to D being our standard. Through to C, D, that we're noting that the delegations of SDC's infrastructure and capital delivery group manager apply to WasteNet functions and activities, including financial delegations. We delegate to the SDC Waste Advisory representatives financial delegation to approve WasteNet Southland annual budget inclusive of up to $2 million excluding GST for the strategic, education and administrative expenditure components of the WasteNet Southland annual budget. Financial delegation to set the annual WasteNet administration fee. Financial delegation to approve variations to the annual WasteNet Southland budget of up to 200k excluding GST per annum. And financial delegation to distribute the WasteNet Southland reserves of up to $200,000 excluding GST to projects activities not provided for by the annual budget of WasteNet. And that we direct staff to update these SDC manual delegations accordingly. And if all WasteNet councils do not proceed in alignment, delegations may need to be revised. Noting that we've got three councils that are having this paper.
Absolutely.
Someone in a position to move that. Councillor Boper, seconded by Councillor Dobson. Any further discussion on that? None. I'll put the motion. All those in favour, please say aye. Aye. Anyone against? That is carried. While you're there, we'll now move to 8.10, page 245, and this is the Waste Management and Mobilisation Plan 2026 to 2033, hearing deliberation of the recommendations. So Christine and I attended these a couple of weeks ago. It was quite a good day actually. So yeah, I'll hand over to whoever wants to talk to that.
So again, probably fairly self-explanatory, and you've seen this come across your desk prior to public consultation, so I won't go too much into the background, aside to say that, as the Mayor has alluded to, there were a number of submissions received and considered by the panel, and that amendments were made to the draft plan as a result of that, incorporating that feedback. So again, this has to go through all three councils before it's implemented with a target date of 1 July.
And we're now delegated to approve that. But yeah, it was a very good day. And what I recognised on the day was the expediency of taking on the feedback of all the submissions, both the new ones and the old ones. I think anyone that's submitted will feel like they were heard and listened to in terms of the feedback coming through. I don't know if Councillor Menzies wants to add anything, having been today.
Thank you, Mayor Scott. Just to add, I think with the people presenting at the hearings, it shows the value of the submission process and that we can all learn a lot from people coming along and making their submissions in person as well. Really appreciated the time that they took to do that. Thank you.
Thanks, Christine. Are there any questions from the table? None. I'll take us to recommendations again. So A through to C being our standard. B, that we're noting the minutes of the joint for the Cargill and Southland hearing for draft waste management and minimisation plan 2032. We're adopting the recommendation of the joint core of the Cargill and Southland District Council waste management and minimisation hearing panel to adopt the waste management and minimisation plan 26 to 32 with the changes as agreed. And we're noting that if the other WasteNet parties do not proceed, options will need to be reassessed as per the last one. Someone?
Changes to it today?
That's true. So we could probably remove changes because we don't actually have any. Or was that relating to the changes made to the plan? So that's actually not changes from today, that's changes to the plan.
Correct.
Someone happy to move? Councillor Graney, seconded by Councillor Spraggan. No further discussion. Motion, all those in favour, please say aye. Aye. Anyone against? That is carried. Thank you. And, you're welcome to stay for the rest of the Okay, so now I'm going to go back to the future and find out where I was. So 8.2, the CSA tariff rate increase on page 13, and I believe this is probably the first time you guys been to the table as well, so welcome here. Nice to have you. What was yours?
Thank you very much for the warm welcome. Purpose of this report is for Council to approve an increase in the kilowatt hour charge from 89 cents to 93 cents GST inclusive. I will take the report as read, but will provide a short overview of the key points and associated recommendation. As you will be aware, CISA provides the generation and distribution of power to the Stewart Island Rekiura community. The generation of power is reliant on machinery that uses diesel to operate. With international events since early March, the price for fuel has fluctuated significantly in the last 3 months. This is expected to put pressure on the ability to continue to purchase fuel within the annual plan budgets. The tariff increase will offset the additional cost incurred while these prices are higher than the budgeted average. It is therefore the recommendation of this report, in alignment with the recommendation of the Euro Community Board dated 11 June 2026, to increase the CASA tariff by 4 cents per kilowatt hour to 93 cents per kilowatt hour.
I'd just like to add slightly to that, which is we can't wait for the solar array to be ready for Stewart Island, because obviously this is, another increase from a previous increase. That was due to the diesel pricing.
I almost wonder if indeed we need to add the word reluctantly approved to the increase. Was there anything you wanted to add, Councillor Spragan, from that?
No, it was, the board realised it had to go up, and the local community realises that as well. Just as an offside, that they're clearing the trees on the solar panel site, and it's costing them about $850 a day for the diesel for the wood chipper. So the sooner we could get solar power, the happier we'll get off diesel, the happier the island will be.
And I think everyone in this room acknowledges and is aware of the fact that there's an end user at the end of this. We're talking about a price increase, but there are end users, and a lot of them are in fixed incomes and everything as well. So this isn't done easily, but the alternative doesn't really exist either. So yeah, recognising that the faster we get that solar up, the better as well. So we have our recommendations there.
Excuse me.
Sorry, but.
Through you, just out of interest, when was the last time this had to be raised in the past, do we know?
About 2 months, 3 months ago.
No, prior to this year, I mean.
Prior to that, it was the reason I can remember it was the first decision the last community board had to make. And we went from down in 40-something cents up to the...
Wow.
Wow.
Okay, so that
So there has been quite a period of...
Steady.
Yeah.
And are we aware what are we currently getting diesel therefore landed? With the latest diesel prices?
What's diesel currently?
What are the current I know farmlands is about $2.12, $2.13 for the week, but what are we getting there?
It's not that. It's monitored weekly, but I have to admit the last couple of weeks the prices have been a little slow, which is why the Community Board haven't seen an email in the last week. I'm just going to go with where I find it the quickest. Purchase order system. It has for the last few weeks been dropping, but that's still not saying much from where it got to.
That's all right, we can always take that offline, Susan.
Oh, no, I can literally, I've just got to go in and find it. I'll just find the invoice for last week. Numbers I should have had in the back of my head as a guess would come up. So we paid $2.40, just under $2.45 for the week ended the 12th of June.
And what sort of buffer are we building into this price now?
There's still no real buffer in this price.
No buffer at all. Anything further, we're fully exposed. Thank you.
Were there any further questions? So our recommendations there that we note the information contained in the report. We note that it's of moderate importance but not significant based on our significant engagement policy, and we determine it complies with our decision-making requirements, and we're reluctantly approving the increase in the price per kilowatt hour by an additional 4 cents per unit from 89 cents to 93 cents, GST inclusive. Someone happy to move? Councillor Spragan, seconder. Councillor Dobson. Any further discussion? Motion. All those in favour, please say aye. Aye. Anyone against? That is carried. Thank you. I'm going to go 8.3. Our annual plan adoption, page 17. Now, at the start of the meeting, I was going to reflect on the size of the agenda, and I wasn't going to challenge staff when I was going to say this is the biggest one they've had at the Trinium so far. It's a good phone book. It contains quite a chunky set of documents for a couple of items on here, and I know that councillors didn't have any plans for the weekend, or if they did, they were taken up by reading this, but every page that we've had to read is a page that staff have had to write as well, and this actually is a combination of a lot of hard work in here. So I think just recognising the extent of everything that we do as a council and all of the work that goes into bringing these important papers for us to make decisions on. It's quite a, sometimes when you take a step back and actually reflect, there's a lot of work in here. So just acknowledging that from the staff and also acknowledging the councillors who had to read it over the weekend. So this annual plan adoption paper has been discussed just a week ago through FNA. Was there anything, Anne, you wanted to add?
No, thank you, Mr. Chair. I don't actually know if I envy you reading it either. I don't know what would be actually worse than writing it or reading it. I think probably reading it might be worse. But in terms of the report itself, no, there's nothing else that I want to add. We extensively covered the document off and the components within it in the Finance and Assurance Committee meeting. I think the only thing that I would point out is that in that meeting there were a number of points raised in regards to just clarifications or spelling errors or things like that. And the team have worked really hard, the comms team and Nicole has worked really hard just to resolve those, make the necessary changes. So I've popped you up today if you've got any specific queries on that area. But otherwise, yeah, I'll just take it as read.
Cool. Do we have any questions? Like I say, we had quite a good discussion on this just a week ago with our Finance and Assurance Chair leading that discussion. Councillor Keys.
It's not really a question, but I have time to actually know beforehand. Page 86, Executive Committee, seem to be added a Robin in my copy.
So it was
So I presume it's probably going to be the actual, yes, agenda.
On the actual document, yeah.
Oh, I see there, yeah.
So what's the issue? The executive, is it executive?
It's executive committee.
Oh, yeah, it's got a spell. Oh, Robin on the end of it. Yeah, no, fair enough. Thank you.
So in the absence of Councillor Duffy, we can still assure you that.
Yes. No, that's awesome. Well, actually, you should have asked for chocolate fish to find them all. Yeah, no, that's fine. Thank you.
And again, I guess that just highlights that our weekend's work's been.
Yeah, no, appreciate the fact that you have checked through that again.
Are there any further questions for the report? Now, these recommendations take up pages, and in the interest of time, I'm not going to read through them all because I'm going to take them as actually read. And I am fairly comfortable to move them all at once if everyone else is. If there's no particular recommendation that anyone has an issue with, I'm going to recommend from the chair that we deal with them at once. So is there anyone in a position to move A through to N? Councillor Dobson, do we have a seconder? Councillor Wilson? Is there any further discussion on those at all? Okay, so I'll put the motion. All those in favour, please say aye.
Aye.
Anybody against? That is carried. Thank you, Anne. You didn't have to talk, Nicole. We beat you off the hook.
Hopefully that continues in the next report.
All right, so our annual plan naturally follows on to. We couldn't change the agenda order for these two. One has to lead to the other one. So this is our rates resolution, setting of rates for the financial year 1 July 26th to 30th of June 27th. This is on page 181 of the agenda, and welcome Shelley and Nicole.
Thank you, Your Worship, councillors. Through you. So this report absolutely follows the annual plan, because in your annual plan is the funding impact statement, which lists all the rates that we're going to set for the 26-27 year. But this report is a legal requirement, and in this one it has more detailed information about which parts of the Act that each rate is linked to. Also in here we have the due date for the payments and the penalties. So just to explain, just because there's a couple of new councillors around the thing, this will come up every year as part of it, and we set how we're going to collect the rates. Council in the past has chose to do it over 4 quarters. and we put the payment date as the middle month of those 3 months in each quarter. So July, August, September, we collect the rates in August and throw through. And then we have penalties. Council has a chance to do 3 types of penalties. You can do 10% on your instalment, 10% of the total owing at the end of the financial year, and you can do another 10% in 6 months after. This council's always taken the first 2 penalties, so we've pushed that through again in this report, that we do a 10% penalty on our instalment, but we actually put that a month after our due date now, and that's just a slight change we made in the last year to sort of allow more budgeting of the payments of rates, people doing APs and stuff like that. Except where December, January falls, we don't put the December penalty at the end of December, we wait till we come back in January with the dates in here. So they are the 2 sort of main parts that we push through for in this report, is the due dates, the penalties, and all the rates listed in all the resolutions there. Is there any questions on that?
Cool, thank you. I guess this almost mirrors the ESSA rate point. I don't think anyone around this table is overly comfortable with the number, but it reflects the huge amount of work that council has to do, and even looking at the number of recommendations that we've got here, it's actually quite complicated, the amount of work that is done and the amount of different units and the breakdown of all of those different charges. So it's, Fiona just told me that I have to read it out word for word, and I think we'll still be here at 3 o'clock if I do. But are there any questions for Councillor? Just Nicole hasn't spoken yet, so we need to give her looks like you might be off the hook. So I'll take us to our recommendations here, and they are extensive. Was there anyone in particular, anyone who wanted to ask a question or have any concerns on? Is someone in a position to move A through to M? Councillor Keese, do you have a seconder? Councillor Dawson? Discussion on all of those? Well, I'll put the motion. All those in favour, please say aye. Aye. Anyone against? That is carried. And I think the fact that there weren't any questions or anything doesn't reflect on the paper. It reflects there's been a whole lot of work to get us to this point that we've been working through, and it's going to continue as we move into the next phase for our next long-term plan. So I'm sure we're going to hear a lot from you coming up, Nicole.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. Thanks, Shelley. Okay, I'm going to change the order again. And I'm going to let Cameron off the hook for a few minutes, and I'm going to jump into the news report, noting the value of the time of the 2 board chairs that are sitting there in our gallery. So this is on page 213 of our agenda. And in my report, I won't jump to the other end of the table, but I'll speak to it a little bit from here, rather than taking it as read. But I guess just reflecting on the start of the meeting and the important, and what's not in this report is activities in the weekend, actually going to a community service award for one of our great community heroes out in Wyndham, and also the opening of the railway station in Tapri. Many hundreds of hours have gone into that project, and it was quite cool. So I've talked a little bit about the trip in there. We do have the final presentation and the final report from that whole delegation coming, and there's actually going to be an announcement made in the cargo as well for that, so we'll took all that down south, which is going to be quite cool. So I'll do a more thorough report back after that trip in due course. I'll take the rest of my report as read, and I'll just open it up if any councillors wanted to talk about any of the safety involvement, and questions for myself as well. Are there any questions from my report at all? Cool. Well, it gives me great pleasure now to invite our 2 board chairs that have come along to speak to us, and we've got Greg sitting on the end, so I'll invite Greg up first. So Greg's our Northern board chair, if you want to come up to the table, Greg. But I think it's probably your first time this triennium, but you've been before in the last triennium, so great to have you here, and great to hear from our
Good morning. Yeah, so just a roundup for the northern community. And I probably don't need to talk about the Round the Mountain Cycle Trail, which I've got on my list, because I know you've already had that on your agenda, so we'll leave that one alone. Also, the Garston Public Toilets refurb, I think, has also been on your agenda. So, however, there is a barbecue and shelter going into Garston. That's all been approved and waiting to be installed. There's a couple of subdivisions going on in Athol and Mosburn, which is positive, showing there is still growth in the small townships of northern Southland. Kind of outside of the SDC stuff, or just a wee bit of information. So the Mosburn Fire Brigade held a fundraising trail bike ride, and in appreciation to all the landowners whose land they used, they put on a barbecue and a get-together at the Fire Brigade. And they also invited employers of volunteer fire staff. So that turned out to be a really good get-together in a local sort of a setting, and it was well appreciated from those people that are all helped out for that fundraising opportunity. So Lumsden, I know he's just talked about the railway station at Tuatapere being refurbed, and we're a wee bit in the same vein in Lumsden, and I think it is part of our DNA in the small country towns is, transport and rail is part of the history. And I'd just like to note that the Lumsden Heritage Trust have won another award from the Federation of Rail Organisation of New Zealand, and that was for a steam locomotive restoration award. So anybody that's been into Lumsden recently and seen the lineup of trains that they've managed to accumulate and restore, it's pretty rewarding in there. So, which brings me on to my next better off funding option that Northern Southland had put in a grant for 50k. So we've prepared a further funding agreement for the Lumsden Heritage Trust after doing a slight change of scope. So they're going to take over that 50k and run with it. This is the last of the board's better off funding projects to grant to the trust. They will use the fund to further develop the museum within the Lumsden Railway Station building, and it will have a focus on railway history and the area as to appeal to visitors and locals alike. The money will be spent on internal renovations works such as construction of display shelves and cabinets, painting, lighting, security considerations, the purchase of interactive equipment for displays and associated design costs, etc. So that was nice to be able to get that over the line for the Heritage Trust to carry on with that museum. Which also brings us to the exterior and the maintenance of the Lumsden Railway Station itself. It's up for some renewal of weatherboards and exterior painting, but it has got some pile problems that they're looking at trying to solve in a cost-worthy manner. So that also includes new entrance to the craft shop and ramp. And also, just on that area, Balfour Lions Club have put in for to develop a mini golf course there, just adjacent to the railway station. This is a venture supported by the Northern Community Board, and it's to be placed on council land. They're currently planning and looking for potential funding for that. Last but not least, the Northern Southland Community Resource Centre Charitable Trust, along with the Lumsden Lions Club, will be celebrating 150 years for the township of Lumsden being named in 1876. So it was formerly known as the Elbow, changed names in 1876. So there's plans for a community celebration day in November 2026. And that'll be in the on the reserve land behind the railway station as well. So quite an exciting venture coming forward, and the Lions Club and the Community Trust are both really keen to get that up and running and get a good celebration day going. So that's about us from Northern Southland.
Thank you, Greg. It's great to actually get that insight information of what's happening in all those places. And again, just you're referring to a lot of volunteer work that's happening as well. So it just highlights that our towns, the bread and butter is our people that volunteer this time, and that lots been recognition of the employers of volunteers as well. That kind of there's a wider kind of connection across it all. So yeah, thank you. Are there any questions to Greg from the table? Cool. Very nice thorough report, Greg. Thank you. I'm just going to look at this note that I've received here. I need to find a person who was mayor in 1876, and I need to dress like him for the celebration day.
George Lumsden, I think.
Cool. Thanks, Greg. Much appreciated. And next up, we have someone who I think turned 40 yesterday. So happy birthday. And welcome to the table here.
Thank you, Rob. Thank you. Yes, I'm reminded after having another birthday that I'm very naughty. I haven't worn my hearing aids again. Sorry. So I know that means I end up speaking loudly, but it means you'll hear me. But also it means if you want to speak to me, you have to speak quite loudly. Okay, nice. Thank you very much for the opportunity to be able to deliver some information about our very exciting community board area, where it's all happening at Tuatapere and Tuewe. Obviously, it's a bit thematic today, the railway station topic. First of all, I must report on the pièce de résistance of happenings for us with the grand opening of the Tuatapere Heritage Rail Precinct at Tuatapere. This was on Saturday last. I'd like to express huge thanks to Mayor Rob for his attendance and officially cutting the ribbon. Mayor Rob had the quote of the day, and I managed to remember it for the second part of the occasion. And I'm not always good at remembering punchlines. With jokes, I never remember punchlines. I always have to say to Nicole, what's the punchline again? So I managed to remember, though, this particular line. I thought it was really, really cool. It didn't need a match. It just needed a spark. Oh, cool, eh? Very good. So, thank you very much for that. There have been some... also thank you to Councillor Michael and Councillor Jaspreet, who made the effort to attend. And of course, staff members Sam and Stella and Chris. Stella and Sam have been very actively involved in the whole process, and it was lovely for Chris. And already some of the feedback we've got from the Trust is that they're delighted with the photos that have come back already. So there's been some locals who have openly expressed that the old broken down building needed a match. Mayor Rob's clever use of words was very appropriate. Huge thanks to I've already said to Sam and Stella and Chris. It's been quite a transformation. The Trust have already told me how delighted they are with the day and how everything went and with the photos. The occasion was twofold, the official bit and then a celebratory community time with pipe band and dancers. I expressed at the time that it wouldn't be surprising if actually at the original opening in 1915 of that particular building that there were Highland dancers and pipe band playing to bring in the occasion. I couldn't help but reflect while standing on that old platform how much gossip must have taken place on that very spot over the years. If only the walls could talk, or the platform talk. The refurbishment was possible due to Better Off funding grant of $310,000 from the government and the willingness and energy of a newly formed Tuatapere Heritage Rail Trust. Countless voluntary hours have been kindly given in the process. Come and have a look, enjoy it. Have a cup of tea or coffee and enjoy the nibbles, and just have a lovely time looking at the refurbishment. It's really quite remarkable. The other big news in Tui is the clearing of a standing of Douglas fir trees in our Greenheart Reserve. These trees, although beautiful and having been a source of joy for many years, have become a danger risk in recent years, with the shading of nearby roads in winter. The icy roads, sometimes lasting all day, have been a real thing of concern to nearby residents and locals. The operation of removing these trees began on Monday, and I know various staff members have been involved. Acknowledge Mark, who's here too, who's been involved in that process over the years as well. Already there's been positive comments about how the sun now shines all day and the light is so much better. And that's only after 2 days, so it's pretty cool, really. This has been a project which has involved considerable consultation. Understandably, some people were sad to see the trees go, but most are excited about the prospect of a new aesthetic central space for our town. We're looking forward to new plantings and repurposing this popular spot. Other significant projects that have taken place and are in the process involve our outlying communities. Oropuki is thriving. This once wee village, so populous in the early 1900s, went through a downturn, as you'll all be aware, and it was a case of blink and you'll miss it. However, it has resurrected itself. People are building in the area. Some folk are coming from as far afield as Auckland in Australia to settle there, and the local folk are very proactive in getting things done. They're a great bunch. With funding help from our community board, the promotions group led the refurbishment of the old Heritage Rail Water Tower, and it now looks amazing. They've also, through funding and through fundraising efforts, replaced their old leaky firefighting water tanks. The latest project, which has involved considerable consultation, is the repair and refurbishment of the Monkey Island shelter. The other thing they've done is installed a defibrillator at the pub through fundraising efforts. I'd like to thank Mayor Rob and staff members for your attendance at public meetings. We as a board are delighted with the new revised concept of doing a makeover on the existing shelter, with very practical solutions by architect Phil Orr. The very well-attended recent public meeting where everyone has an opinion, but that's all good. It concluded with those present clapping in appreciation. That's so unusual, isn't it? Such a thrill. And it's such a thrill to see their enthusiasm. At the other end of our community board area, the Monowai Social Services Committee are also very proactive in their community. And like the Oropuki folk, we enjoy our discussions with them on local matters. They have recently had their AGM where Chairman Neil Wolders stepped down after 11 years and has been replaced by Brent Youngman. Neil will continue on the committee and in the role of facilitating the installation of firefighting water tanks to the village. You'll know that there's been quite considerable success by the local cafe Bruno Peaks. We're very lucky, if you come for a little tiki tour out our way, there's lots of lovely eateries. Bruno Peaks, now of course the railway station, Tui Base Camp in Tuatapere, Waiatana Country Club, and of course Oropuki Cafe. Let's bring it out there for those guys. And halfway between Monowai and Oropuki, it's all happening at the Arawia Community Centre. Over 2 years ago, a young man drove straight through the building, causing extensive damage, especially to one end. Sadly, that was quite deliberate on his behalf. There has been a frustrating period of time as council and the insurance company have come to some sort of negotiation. It's really positive that again Phil Orr, the architect, has come on board and developed some good palatable solutions. It's been a tough time for the Arawa folk, being unable to use this great community facility for over 2 years. As with Oropoki, a public meeting was held and continued discussion takes place with the committee. It was with a sense of delight that the less damaged end of the centre was opened up for the gathering of those in attendance at the Arawa Dawn Anzac service for the usual after-service cuppa and snack. Thank you to the staff who are facilitating this restoration project. The community are now feeling more positive about their centre's future. Thank you to the Vibuti, Bobby and Teresa, who have facilitated some very good spatial planning workshops, very informative and with great chance for discussion. The Southland District Council book bus service, due to popular request, has been returned to Oropoki. This is well attended by locals and often accompanied by Coke with a coffee cart. It's become a very social occasion. And I've been down at least on one occasion and thoroughly enjoyed catching up with the Oropoki folk as they choose their books and have a good yarn. We really appreciate the return of this great facility. Other great things happening in our very busy neck of the woods are woolen craft days, patchwork and sewing days weekly, book clubs, pink breakfast fundraisers, hoedowns, Archives Hub Great Book Sale, Lions Annual Fundraising Hay Drive, which regularly raises around $40,000 every year for hospice and other local projects, market days, soup and chat sessions, continued great work by the Tui Trails volunteers and the Pest Control Group, and lots of activities for preschoolers, storytelling at the library, movement to music at the church, and Play Centre Weekly. As you see, lives all go at Tui. I'd like to encourage you now to drive out and enjoy some of the wonderful facilities that Tuatapere has to offer. Thank you.
Thank you, Anne. That was great, and yeah, I thoroughly enjoyed Saturday. And
it was great.
Even the fact that I took a loaf of bread home that was gluten free.
Beautiful, delicious, wasn't it?
It was going for a minute. So no, that was great. And I'm just reflecting on both yours and Greg's presentations. Like, you really are the link between council and the community, and it's so great to have both of you coming along and presenting to us today and joining those dots. We can't be everywhere at once with such a big area, but having you coming along and Greg as well, sharing what's happening in your patches is fantastic. Are there any questions?
I haven't got a question as such, Anne, but more of a statement in general. Almost when you finished talking, I almost felt like I needed to give you a round of applause. I was completely engaged and hanging on every word. There was 3 things that came from that. Obviously, the opening on the last weekend, and then the 2 community meetings for Monkey Island and for Orawia. And I think that in itself, it's just great to see those things happening, and a great reminder for us as elected officials that the people in the community know more than us. And I just think that should be recognised as such.
Yeah, no, thank you.
Through you, Worship. Just sharing your sentiment. You're just a wonderful breath of fresh air. You're consistently, every time you do a report, it's really informative and really interesting, and genuinely excited for your patch and Tuatapere. So well done.
Thank you.
With that, with all of this exuberance and this infrastructure renewal and exciting stuff going on, that's got an obvious linkage into the Humpridge track in terms of bookings for this coming season. Is there a sort of a close link between all of those things that you've just mentioned and the Humpridge, and kind of cross-referencing things like bookings and where you can see areas that might need improvement for the future? So you're encouraging people to stay a little bit longer rather than just doing the track and then, right, we're out of here.
Very much so. Very much so. You were really hoping, Tom, that the opening of the precinct at Tuatapere is a real attraction for people coming into the area. One of the big things we've tried to encourage is for visitors doing the Humpridge track, that they stay and enjoy what Tuatapere has to offer. And I think the railway station opening, now it is also the information centre. And the Huntbridge track was where the Huntbridge Trust office was, where the information centre was. But because it was so focused on Huntbridge track, it's really appropriate that now it's in a different building and there's a real chance to promote from there other things that people can do in the area while they're in Tuatapere, like enjoy the Tui trails. They are real, they're a delight.
Well, it's interesting you should mention that, because that was going to be my next question around the Tui trails.
Yeah.
And I remember going to a meeting, it was probably 2 or 3 years ago in Tuatapere, and it was specifically focused on the Tui trails.
Yes.
And they had that separate sort of trust or board that was dedicated to that.
That's right.
Can you give any more indication of where it's at, where the Tui Trails is at in terms of the conversation that we're having now and maybe future improvements in that space?
Okay, there's always room for improvement with Tui Trails because, as you know, trails need upkeep often. In Tuatapere, I have known quite a bit about that particular aspect because I am the chair of that committee. But so we have a group of tracks in Tuatapere that have always been there. And what we decided to do some years ago, when we were able to get quite a bit of help from PD guys and girls coming along, that we're able to get them to help out on the tracks, and that made a big difference. And there were a couple of key people in Tuatapere that led that. Following on from that, we formed this group, this committee, specifically looking at developing the tracks so that they became connected. Advertising them so that into a brochure so that people could go on a journey from one to another to another to another, putting signs up for each of the tracks with a specific name. We also have a group of workers in our community who they go below the radar, but they do an amazing job. There are different people looking after different tracks in our community. So every track is being looked after. It's really quite remarkable, and they just quietly do it. But they also seek assistance sometimes from school kids, the PD team, and other things. Sometimes they may want a bit of gravel from Diddy King or whatever. So, but we've got more plans, and one of the next thing we're going to do is to install storyboards on the trails themselves, explaining some of the key features, like where the ferry originally was. In the river. The track is just above that, and a storyboard there would be very appropriate. So no, it's an ongoing thing, but it's very popular.
Thanks, Anne.
Yeah. Thank you.
Thank you. And I think just your spatial planning comments on it, it's been going around all the boards, and just reflecting on Greg's announcement of the subdivisions happening in our towns and your thoughts about Oropoki and everything as well, and those conversations and getting that planning right, but also it's encouraging to hear that people are coming into our towns as well and providing. And I saw a Facebook post on your Facebook page about a young couple that had come in, seeing them embraced by the community was really cool.
It was, Rob. And their neighbours also then made contact with me and said, that they were living next door and that, they were also delighted to be in Tui. And I thought, that was so cool.
So our communities are going in the right direction, and I think it's great that new people coming in, A, encouraged to invest as well, but B, also encouraged to be part of our great communities. I think a little secret is starting to become known.
Thank you.
Are there any further questions for Anne? Cool. Well,
just before I finish, can I just acknowledge our fantastic community partnership leader, Stella? She is such a gem. I know you all know that, but, she really is quite remarkable. And because of Stella, that a lot of what gets done gets done.
Thank you, Anne.
Thank you.
Really appreciate it. So we've got a recommendation there that we note the information contained in the report. I'm going to add on there that we thank the chairs for taking the time to update us all and acknowledge the work done by the community board. Do I have a mover? Councillor Paper aye, seconded by Councillor Graney. All those in favour, please say aye. Aye. Anyone against? That is carried. Now, you're both welcome to stay and join us for lunch, but before that you'll have to listen to Cameron and the team talk about what they've been up to. So yeah, you're welcome to be around. Which takes me to 8.5, the management report, page 195.
Thank you, Your Worship. Morning, everybody. The management report is in front of you. It's that opportunity that we take regularly to bring you up to speed on all of the matters that the organisation's been delivering but haven't necessarily come to you in the form of reports. The quickest and most successful way is, of course, where I call on the authors of the A3s and you can ask them about the content. I just wouldn't mind, though, putting this this management report in it and the achievements that are actually listed within it in the context of all of the conversations that are happening around various legislative reforms of local government or of some of the things that that council currently delivers. I attended a briefing last night with the Minister of Local Government indicating that the sort of things that have been being discussed, like rates capping legislation, changes to resource management, changes to the Local Government Act. So the more recent one that you probably saw was the intention to remove the voting rights for appointed representatives to council committees. For us, we don't have too many, but obviously that would mean that Chair of Finance and Assurance wouldn't be able to vote. What came through very clearly from the Minister was they are keenly aware of the timing of the election, therefore the general election, therefore they know when Parliament in effect goes into recess, and they are working back from that. Unfortunately, I didn't jot down the exact date, but it's something like September. Between now and September, a whole lot of these things are actually going to go before the House, and they intend for them to pass into law. I'm mentioning them because we did talk about this in the Finance and Assurance Committee meeting. The fact is they don't exist yet, but they probably will. You've just, and I'm very grateful that you've just signed off the annual plan. I'm signalling that all of the work that we're already on for the long-term plan that will have to be done in the context of legislation that's evolving. Where I see that putting some uncertainty on our current process is, for example, to what extent the wellbeing removal from the purpose statement of local government will express itself in what the purpose of the Act will be, and therefore what our plans show. Now, we understand that that's intended to be taken out and intended to focus councils on effectively core services for their communities, but we don't actually know what the final words are going to say or what other things will be put in there at the same time. So I don't want to minimise the uncertainty, and I don't want to minimise the drain that is on the organisation and on yourselves and the Mayor as we try to work our way through the implications of these things we submit on them. We try to anticipate. I believe the emergency management bill is back on its way through the House, for example, which also has quite significant impacts on council. That very confusing and very busy state is the context in which the team have been delivering all of the things that are in the A3s. So as you bring them up and one by one ask them about the stuff, that is the context in which we've been operating. And I've got to say I'm very proud of how much has been achieved. And it was also lovely to hear from the boards today, just to remind ourselves who it is that we are working for as we deliver all of this.
Thank you, Cameron. Were there any questions for Cameron before I jump to our A3s? Cool. So the first one we have is Lagoima requests from November to April 26th. He's chomping at the bit to come to the date.
Good morning, Your Worship. I'm happy to take questions. It's a pretty straightforward report.
When you look at the top 10 government organisations with the highest number of complaints, I'm quite pleased not to be on that list. Are there any questions for Roberti on this report? It's a pretty straightforward report. Didn't anticipate there'd be any, so you're...
No, but my one comment would be that it doesn't really ease up. The numbers might look changed, but the complexity of information does not. A couple of times this time round in the last 4 months, had to just ask for extensions because the teams have been too busy to try and collate all of the information. So that's not easing up at all.
I guess that reflects on Cameron's comments about the BAU still has to happen in amongst all of the other...
Definitely, yeah.
Right, so the next one that we have is community facilities. Welcome, Mark.
Sam, councillors.
Oh, Sam's had to duck out, so...
Sam has ducked out, so...
You're in the hot seat.
I'll take the report as read, but I would like to highlight progress on the contract renewal process that we're going through. This has been a very successful process. We've ended up with 17 different contractors. 10 who were doing contracts previously have returned. We've got 12 local contractors and 5 larger contractors with the likes of Delta and McDonough coming back. It's resulted in 24 contracts, 46 separable portions across all different community boards, and 241 auditable township portions. So based on how those contracts were put out, we're now having to do an increased amount of auditing across the contracts. This was at the request from the previous contracts where we didn't probably have sufficient KPIs and auditing in them, which meant that when it came to roll the contracts over, it was actually quite difficult to make sure that they were actually doing what they said they were doing. And it also excludes the hall custodian contracts and MOUs and the community group MOUs that we have in place. So for the team, there's going to be a lot of work. There's probably going to be quite a bit of hand-holding in the first 6 months with those new contractors just to get them up to speed and get them on board. There's been a few wee conversations we've had to have with a couple of them, but everything's going to plan, and Cameron is now in the middle of signing contracts off, ready to go on the 1st of July. And I'm happy to take any questions on the rest of my report.
Cool. Thanks, Mark. And I think the theme of that, which has been a theme of council for quite a while, is keeping it local, right? And it's definitely that in action. So yeah, acknowledging your team for all that work. I know it took a lot of work to get. You're not just dealing with one contract for the whole district. You're dealing with hundreds. But it's cool that our people in our town are able to do the work. And reflecting on that open day on Saturday with the trust doing that work locally, you get quite a good local ownership and bang for that. Are there any questions for Councillor Geest?
Thank you. Just a query around that. It sounds like there's more work for staff around the auditing.
Yes.
Or is it just that we weren't auditing and so we were sort of what?
We were auditing, but the requirements of the previous contracts weren't as complex as the requirements of the new contracts.
So do you feel like we're over auditing now, or is that?
Probably struck a reasonable medium, and I think it will keep the contractors honest and make sure that they maintain the levels of service that the community boards have set. And eyes and ears out in the district, and they're actually doing what the community boards are paying them to do. It's something that when we did those original contracts, there was some loose contracts previously, so we're progressively getting better and better in terms of the contract documents that we have in place. It's going to be a working relationship with them. And that's what we want. We want to be able to have a working relationship with the contractors so that, if we need to make changes, then we can make changes and have respond to things as they come up and build that relationship moving forward so that come 4 years' time, when we've got a rollover clause in them, we should be able to roll them over. If not, that's caught early and fixed at that stage. It's certainly going to provide us with a lot more information. There'll be a lot more information in the A3s coming through. We've developed an app for our team to audit the contractors that goes straight into what we call the shed, and out of that we can get dashboards on what is working and what isn't working. The contractors have to audit themselves as well. They have to supply us with that information. We've got monthly meetings with them. So, you can start to see the level of auditing that we are doing to making sure that they're going to deliver that level of service.
Which is, I feel like it is extra work, but it's good work in that actually it's getting value for money out of what we're paying for rather than, because it's always going to be a big job because there are so many pieces to the puzzle that make up those contracts.
I think the other...
How many contractors we actually have doing it, that work still needs to be done on that particular piece of land.
The other big issue we have is the size of the district and the amount of travel that we have to do to audit the contractors. And so we're working through that process, how best we can divvy up the contracts between the contract managers. Some work around whether we actually have enough resource to manage the contracts based on what's in the contracts. And we have indicated to council before if we ended up with more contracts, we may need to get more resource. So it's something we're working on. I'll be working with the group manager, my group manager, and having that conversation just to see where we land.
And technology to support that, seeing and not having to physically go and see what's happening every time that it is actually being recorded that work's been done. So using technology other than the app.
I think it's important to have those agreed expectations up front as well, which makes it a lot easier, and that proactive monitoring of it rather than trying to monitor it months later, I think will be quite helpful in that aspect. You want to?
I just wanted to actually say thank you to Mark and the team and Jendi. The development of those contracts and the approach came through council a couple of times. And I'm just accounting to my own standards of reporting. I've signed 9 of those contracts already. As they come to me, I'm getting them back to you as fast as possible. So I'm well aware that the start of the financial year is close. So thank you for the effort.
Councillor Dobson.
Yeah, Mark, I just want to talk about operating expenditure, and particularly the open spaces. There's a big old chunk of change there that's an overspend. Thinking about a lot of that is clean-up work and is reflective of underspend in the past. And I'm just wondering, obviously Mother Nature's taken some control of our tree and hedge maintenance in October, and I'm just wondering, is that going to be, do you think that would be reflected in future years where there's essentially been removal of trees and hedges rather than maintenance of trees and hedges?
I would expect the budget should be able to be lowered in the LTP. As you say, Mother Nature's actually, even though she's caused us a lot of issues over the storm event, she's actually done us a favour in some cases. And we will be able to now move into just a maintenance phase for our trees, and that should cost us less. One of the contracts that were issued were for arboriculture. So we do have an arboricultural contract in place. contract we did have in place, the contractor only charged us the contract rate. So when they did the clean-up work, they didn't increase the rate at all. So we got a lot of work done a lot cheaper than other councils did. But yes, I can see us moving into a reduction in the costs for tree maintenance in the future, because all we will be doing is just maintaining the trees.
Good to see as well at the start of this week the pollarding that was happening in Winton really quick.
So
I think a day and a bit, and it was all done. And I've seen them take 3-4 days in the past. So yeah, really on the ball with that.
They're a very good contractor.
So we don't need to add Mother Nature as a preferred supplier, they do.
Thank you. Just following on from what Councillor Dobson spoke, you say we can expect to see costs associated with the storm event impact as they come. 8 months on from that time, when is the day when we decide to draw a line like this is it, now we are done here?
There's two places that we have to complete. One is the Arboretum and the other is the Otario Cemetery. We have Pankhurst.
I know, but when are we?
But I don't know when we're going to draw.
It seems to we are not able to get to a final figure there. Another 4 months? I mean, I guess once a year is done.
Yeah.
Should be hope for
it. We will have the cost at the end of the financial year, so we will be able to give that to you. But if those two places continue into next financial year,
there might be still more coming in.
We're still working to see whether or not we can get that funded through insurance.
And is there a turnaround time for insurance to finally give us an answer, a final answer?
Not yet. Work in progress. But as I say, if we can get insurance for all that money, then obviously our tree and hedge budgets for communities will be underspent.
No, I was just wondering when we can put this to bed, but it's not clear yet. Thank you, Rob.
Through you, Worship. Greg, you mentioned about staff trialling the new application from an audit perspective, and that there is that reciprocal responsibility from contractors to also do that audit process. Is there a relationship between what we're doing and what the contractors are doing in terms of sharing that kind of IT information?
We're encouraging them to use the same application, so that they go and audit using the same application. We spoke with one contractor and they're going to use their own application. So now we have to work out whether or not we can accept that information into our system. So yeah, we're trying to link the two together. And
I'm just making the assumption that there will be a percentage of contractors out there that won't be familiar with some of this technology, especially on the ground. And I'll be interested to know the feedback in terms of whether, the percentage of acceptance versus kickback. And as I say, how well we integrate in that space.
I can come to a workshop and show councillors how it works. It's on the phone. It's that simple. Even I can do it.
As long as our contractors come on board.
Yep. Look, all the feedback we're getting so far, working with the contractors, they're all very happy with it. The contract managers have been engaging with them, bringing them on the journey. No issues at all so far. So this is a really good working relationship, starting off correctly this time out. Yep.
Just the final question for me, then we might let you off the hook. Just on the RFS summary, I trying to think back into previous years, how that kind of relates. So it's a 427 year to date. Is that high or low or just kind of normal? Are there any trends in there in terms of the request for service, or is that just kind of, are you comfortable with that number?
That's low. What we're finding is the proactive work the likes of our community maintenance team are doing, picking up things before they hit the RFSs. Having the contract managers out there, having that more visibility in the communities is reducing that noise for the team, which is really good. A lot of this stuff we can nip at the bud at first point of contact. So, that's heading in the right direction.
Was it 100% completed on time? So I'd say that is the right direction. No further questions. We will let you off that.
Thank you.
We've got the customer support and libraries team, and I believe Victoria or Kelly or no.
Kia ora team, your worship, esteemed councillors, it's a pleasure to be here. I haven't had the chance to meet everybody. So my name is Victoria Cunningham, I'm your new customer experience manager, so I look after our library services and our customer support team. I'm quite excited to be here today to talk to you about our recent performance. Before we move into any questions, I'd like to point out 3 things. First of all, in the report, you'll now see the abandonment rate. Now, an abandonment rate is a customer centre metric. It's a really important metric for several reasons. 2 of the most is about customer experience and essentially efficiency. So an abandonment rate is measuring how many customers call us and then decide to hang up on us. Now, they'll hang up for various reasons, but normally that is due to wait times, right? So essentially, the abandonment rate runs industry standard is around 5%, and you'll see we're running around 5 to 6%. So there is some room for improvement and some opportunity. The reason why we want to measure it is to make sure, 1, we're being efficient and we're having great customer service, but we can look for opportunities for that improvement. One of the things we're looking to do is change what we call our interactive voice recognition system, or our IVR. We've got some great telephony technology here at Council that we need to capitalise on. One of those pieces of technology is when you call us and say the wait is a little bit longer, you can select a number and have the option to stay in the queue, and the queue will automatically call you back and essentially come into the call centre. From the analysts, From the analysis done, we found that essentially that wait time versus when they're hanging up, so how long does it wait to get to that option on our IVR versus when people are opting to abandon their call, there's about a 10-second difference. So we need to move it earlier on into our IVR to give even people the option to use that. So that's the first thing I'd like to point out. The second thing is just around the customer support performance given other things that have been happening in the team. So you'll note we had a couple of spikes in February and March, and it's explained why. But through this period, we also onboarded and trained somebody within the team. We got ready for dog season, so we did a whole lot of training around our sites for that as well. We have refreshed our quality assurance program, and we're looking to kick that off from the 1st of July. We've done a massive piece of work with our HSNW team, which is also ongoing, around our panic alarm procedures, but also doing some emergency preparedness training out in our sites face-to-face as well. And we've been working actively with Kevin from Cemeteries, the Cemeteries Activity Manager, about digitisation and taking that to the next phase as well. And the final thing I just want to point out is for libraries. So this is pretty exciting. So libraries have had a great period as well. But I just want to point out about the fantastic work that the Te Anau team have done as a result of essentially the story time, bilingual Māori story time we did at Waitangi Day. We've essentially worked with a community group to stand up a Waiata Wednesday group. And in a short period of time, we have about 14 children on average attending with their families, but then we're also alternating between the school and essentially a daycare as well. So it's a fantastic program. Awesome. Welcome any questions you may have.
Thank you, and very well for your first time presenting that report.
Thank you so much, I appreciate that.
You should work in customer service, I think. And so just reflecting that your team's interface of the organisation, and it's very important, and I think focusing on those sort of, I guess, KPIs around that abandonment piece, and then reflecting that it's not where you want it to be, and the work you're doing is really cool that you're actually bringing that forward to us and explaining it. So thank you for that. Are there any questions from anyone? I'm going to ask one question, and I know that Councillor Menzies might be wanting to ask it, but have you changed the word agent when you ring up and it says the nearest agent will be with you shortly?
No, I haven't, but I can if you would like me
Yeah,
to.
that'd be
Yeah, no, totally. Because we'll look at when we change it into that voice recognition system or IVR, we can take a look at the whole thing, Mayor Rob, and actually just clean it right up and make sure it's really customer centric. Yeah.
Just a bit of feedback around that sort of personal touch.
Wonderful.
Cool. There's no.
Through your worship, just based on what you've just said too, in terms of the number of calls that you're getting and that improvement in calls. Like in the report further down, it talks about RFSs, and it looks like telephone calls are still the highest point of contact.
Yeah.
Even though, like I was just talking before to Mark about, IT and Tenno app and all that sort of stuff, website engagement, our emails, but it sounds like the phone calls are still well and truly up.
Yeah.
Engagement, so it's good to hear that you're working on improvement.
Yeah, totally. I do think there's an opportunity, to the point that you're making, to increase our digital engagement though as well for those portions of our community who want to engage in that way. So I'm not confident right now that we have a great understanding in our community for various ways you can engage with us. So I would like to do a piece of work around that. I'm not suggesting that we replace phone calls. We have a district that loves face-to-face or verbal interaction. We want to make sure we keep that presence within our communities in terms of face-to-face or from the customer support team over the phone. But I do think there is a portion of digital that we need to expand on and enhance. Yeah. It's great work. Thank you.
Thank you.
Giving away lightly. Thank you so much.
Well, there's also, and Fiona's just pointed it out, on the other page of this, there's also the answers to the questions that were raised last time. So thank you to staff for actually coming forward with that information that was raised in the last report. Continuous improvement. So thank you.
Thank you, team.
Right. Next up, we have forestry. There you go.
All right. First of all, thank you. I will take the report as read. The portfolio. Oh, sorry, Fred. I'm just keen to crack on. The portfolio had harvesting activity in the Gowan Hill Forest, horse spraying and land preparation in Ojai, about 48 hectares there. Variances were noted in both revenue and cost across the portfolio. Performance was predominantly affected by the geopolitical situation in the Middle East and associated increases in fuel prices, resulting in an increase in harvesting cost as detailed in the report. Revenue was also adversely affected due to a lower than planned harvesting yield. The Douglas fir returned about 14% lower than planned. But fortunately, the harvesting yield of the Pinus radiata exceeded the planned values by 17%. Also, our contractor negotiated an increased sale price with local sawmills in response to the increased fuel prices, offsetting the lower yields of the Douglas fir. As a result, net surplus year-to-date is looking favourably, but we're noting that there's still some silviculture cost yet to be incurred due to timing. Apologies. We anticipate to be able to provide a detailed harvest report around September this year. In health and safety, there was only one event of note where a person cut the gate padlock to gain entry to the Ojai forest, where they managed to get their vehicle stuck on the track. Police were involved, air was removed, the person trespassed, and the padlock replaced.
And I attended the Waikato Trails Trust AGM the other night, and I think just acknowledging the great partnership between that trust and the forest, where they're able to take the cycle trail through one of our forests, and it's working really well. I know they really appreciate the connection with council. Are there any questions for Hugo?
Through your worship. Just with regarding to the forest value carbon credits and the deforestation liability of around 1.7 million, has that planting started yet? Are you aware?
I can confirm that for you. I do understand that from the moment that the forest is harvested, we've got 4 years to replant it to offset that liability.
Okay. So according to this, the scheduling is for replanting in 25 and 26.
Yeah, I just need to confirm that for you. Yep, so I'll come back to you. Yep.
Anything you want to add, Fred?
No, that's a great report. Ticking along well.
Right. Next up, we have, so Brian's going to stay seated there. How much information you can fit into an A3?
I know. There's been a lot going on. At least we've got some signed off projects which you've been hearing about today, which has been great as well. So,
Thank you, Worship and Councillors.
I'll take it the report is read, but we'll just like to reiterate that the ramp up post-Christmas is expected to occur, and it's good to see that there's been, up to the end of April, quite a lot of projects that have been outstanding actually coming through to fruition, including in the coming months. There's some that are nearing completion now, which was good to see that upswing. Particularly likes of the rehabilitation sites, we were a month late getting that completed, but they're all completed now, and getting some big ticket items like the Metaphori pipeline, wastewater treatment plant, which are huge investments for council, underway, and the continuation of the bridge program, also mixed with quite a lot of community facilities type work, which have been sort of working through various processes through community boards, and finally actually getting them out the gate and getting some of those delivered. And some good high profile projects like the surface statue, getting that actually through to the current phase that it's in, which is design. So that's going to be an 8-month project to hopefully get that delivered on time for you. And a couple of other high profile ones for the communities as well, such as the Wallistown jumps tracks and the Ninja course and jump track out at Riverton as well. So it's good to see some of those. With the upswing in the workload out there, it has caused a bit more pressure on the teams. They're more out the gate as opposed to preparing the contracts, which has seen a significant upswing in the safety observations, having 70 this past period being done. It has thrown up a few things that we're monitoring closely with the contractors on a few unsafe practices, mainly centred around some minor stuff with traffic management, and some of that's people getting to grips with the new regulations and things and what's required there. But there has been 3 that did concern us around high risk activities, which we're working with those contractors on, and we've actually elevated that to some higher management to make sure we're on top of that. We want to keep on top of those things, particularly around the trenching and stuff like that. There's no second chances in those spaces. Okay. Financially, we're, as indicated last week, we are underspent year to date. The trend of the spend that's occurred since January, which is significantly higher than post-Christmas, is expected to carry on, because we do have a bulk of the program committed to delivery, about 65 million, which we talked about last week. So that's either in contract or having been completed. So although we're underspent, it's the timing of the works a bit later than anticipated, so that's what's causing that. Happy to take any questions.
Thank you. And yeah, just briefly, we did have quite a good discussion at our F&A meeting last week as well. And just my reflections on this, when I counted the list of achievements compared to the priorities, and there's 13 achievements and 14 priorities. So the achievements are catching up on the priorities. So it's actually good to see how many pieces of work have actually been completed in the months on a very extensive program. And just looking at in your risk factors, you've got the budget and cost control number 3 there, but then also reflecting on part of the reason why our agenda's thick today is that scoping kind of piece coming through, and I think that's going to hopefully help a lot of that too. So you can see that there's measures being undertaken around some of those risks that you've identified. So not a question, just a comment. Are there any questions from before? We had quite a good discussion about this last week, so thank you.
Thank you.
So Fran's off the hook, she might still be good in there. Yep. 3 orders.
Hello, thank you. Thank you, ladies and gentlemen. I will take the A3 as read, but there are a number of things I'd like to draw your attention to. The first one is not actually on the report, but it's worth mentioning. You may be aware that we have been a somewhat undermanned department for some time, but the restructuring which we had proposed has been approved, and consequently we are now in the process of recruiting to fill those gaps, plus key posts in the world of water and waste. So although this is about 3 waters, that also includes a waste manager's position. So we're very optimistic over the course of the next 6 months that if we get those posts filled, what we have been doing or peddling pretty furiously to keep the show on the road, that situation will improve considerably. So I mention that because the team over there have been, I think, doing a pretty good job. So that's worth me pointing out. With regard to the A3, though, it's split into 3 columns, as you can see, and if I can draw your attention to the left-hand one, please. Priorities upcoming month. The bottom and the next one but one up, bullet points, Council is progressing the 2301 operations and maintenance contract handover process and confirming the details and documentation required from Downer before the contract ends in June 27. So that's a year away. And the last point there, work will continue to complete outstanding planned work orders. I just want to let you know that we're very mindful of that, and even though it is a year away, there's a lot of work that we've got to do to ensure that we get a smooth transition. And it's no good just having a contractor down tools on the last day of the contract disappear, and all that corporate knowledge and history and experience disappears with them. So we've got a plan. We're working with them on that. And we intend to make sure that when the new contract is implemented, we're going to make that as smooth a process as we possibly can. So I emphasise that because I just wanted to let you know that that's something we're very mindful of. Going down that column, activity budget and expenditure to end of April 26. Last 2 paragraphs there about capital expenditure for sewerage is under projection due to the timing of projects starting. The main variance for the period relates to the inflow and infiltration project in Winton and the Manapuri wastewater treatment plant, which started in late February compared to the planned start of November. Stormwater capital main variance is due to the timing of projects in Edendale, Wyndham, which started in February. And last paragraph there, carry forwards are estimated to be 4 million. Now, I know Grant Isaacs, my predecessor, talked about this last time he presented an A3 to you, but I think, again, it's worth mentioning that in project management and delivery terms, or construction terms, when you have a delay like that, it's rather like having a bubble in an air pipe. It takes a little while to move through. So our carry forward, when you consider that the operating expenditure budget there is 30 million and the capital expenditure is 13 million, of $4 million, might look alarming at first glance, but we regard there is such a thing as a healthy carryover, and that's certainly within the limits in construction terms that we can manage. So I just wanted to reassure you that that project is or those projects, sorry, are in control. We're pretty happy about that. Sorry.
And underway is, I think, mostly critical there as well. So it's the timing of projects that are multi-year projects. So that's a positive from that perspective.
Thanks. Middle column there, risks and hotspots. I draw your attention to risk factors. They're numbered down the side there, reference number 1 and reference number 5. You will see, and I've heard it mentioned earlier, that there's, bear in mind that we are talking about a period here, March, April, with the effects of the Middle East conflict and a potential increase in operating costs. I just want to reassure you that we are, as it says there, proactively engaging with Downer to identify critical spare parts and materials that can be procured in advance in order to mitigate cost increases and reduce the supply of shortfalls. In other words, we've been working on that for some time, and we are confident that if the situation were to deteriorate, and remember we're still only in phase 1 of the government's 4 phases, we have enough material by way of pipes, spares, valves, nuts, bolts, all the sort of things that might derail us, either available within the region or the area, or that we can get at pretty short notice. And it's exactly the same with diesel fuel. So I'm not saying we've got grounds to be complacent, we're not, but we're very alive to this, and we've taken steps. And remember, we report on a frequent basis to the steering group chaired by the CEO or the Mayor there on those provisions. So I mention that because I think that's worth knowing from your perspective, please. So that's in hand. If you look down at the next box there, we've been asked to clarify the percentages of response times to service requests, and you'll see the bottom 2 bullet points there. In the year to date, service requests attended on time 65.8 and service requests resolved on time 52.6. So although that's not bad, we recognise that there is room for improvement there, and we are continuing to push that with Downer. I'm pleased to say that they have now appointed a contract manager, which is a step in the right direction, of which there have been quite a few over the years. So that's something that's on our radar screen and that we are pushing to improve those response times. Right-hand column, that's largely business as usual projects, which I'm sure you may have questions either now or later, which I'm very happy to cover. So that's the A3 for the 3 years development. Wish to add anything for it?
I'm comfortable to take questions.
Thank you, Councillor Dobson.
Winton wastewater aeration. Installing a new aerator. The other one is kaput or needs?
We need additional.
And I think I know why. Now, there's going to be, obviously, Winton's going to need at some stage in the near future-ish, an upgrade. How much of that infrastructure that's there, like aerators, will still be applicable? This is something that's come up from the community. Why are we spending all this money when we have to spend more money? And I'm just wondering, is an aerator on a pond, obviously it's away from the other stuff, the really costlier things, is an aerator something that would be able to remain in place as the rest of the upgrade is used, or is that?
They're also portable. The ones that we've got are portable, so they are able to be moved from Winton in the future as well. So you're absolutely, from an affordability perspective, we are very cognizant of that fact. And yes, it was also one of the sites that NIF came out and had a look at, and so we do have some good thoughts about the upgrade.
At some stage.
Could I just add to that? Fran mentioned NIF, National Infrastructure Funding and Finance, and we spent several days, she and I and Jeff, showing them the district, and they sent down 2 very good engineers, one of whom I know, Andy Finch and Andre Stewart. So they know their stuff and they know what they're looking at, these blokes. And their verdict at the end of it was that this district's equipment is old but very well maintained. They were quite complimentary about that. So it was a pleasant surprise, nice surprise to hear them say. Bear in mind they look over the whole country. So they said, what you've got down here, you've looked after. Obviously, you've got to, make improvements. We all know about that. But the verdict from them at the end of those 2.5, 3 days was surprisingly good news.
I've just got a question, I'll comment on the question, and I guess my reflection is that front footing and being proactive is really comforting in a space of where we're in. But just around the RFS and those numbers, is 100% an achievable target in terms of those, noting that it's probably, we're reflecting on 100% of the community facilities, but it's a different type of RFS. And I just wondered what success actually looked like in terms of, is it 100% or is it 70%, or what's the number that you're kind of trying to get that number up to?
So 100% would obviously be ideal. The reality is, because of the geographical distances that we need to travel and the urgent priority, for example, is 1 hour, and sometimes you can't actually get to the district or the point in over a weekend or whatever within that time frame, because you'll only have so many people on call. It is a little bit difficult to meet, particularly that 1 hour urgent response. So because this means that they should have been on site and done the work already. So they might be on site within the hour, but they might not have completed the work within the hour, and they've got to click the button and send back. So that's probably the one that's doing a little bit of it's a little bit of a problem. It doesn't mean that it's not fixed within an hour and 15 or an hour and 30, but that one may be a little bit unrealistic from that perspective. So
I guess the
something we need to
missing
review.
measure there could be customer satisfaction, because the person could still be happy if it didn't hit the 100%, but it's actually the problem resolved.
Especially when it's right out in a rural block, miles away, and they've got to go, driving through a number of paddocks to get there and communicate with the right people to get onto the property and so on.
That's no problem.
Through you, Your Worship. Under risk mitigation, number 5, with the resources and material, you'd mentioned that for some time, Council has proactively been engaging with downers around critical spare parts, materials that can be procured in advance and so on and so forth. Are we in the process of actually collating some of those spare parts and so we're actually going through that process, or are we just trying to have some surety around confirmation of a watertight agreement with Downer in the event of something happening?
No, we do our critical spares, and we have that documented, and we've specifically gone through, and you need so many different types of, maybe it's a particular type of pump. If that one goes out, we won't have water for the town or something. So we've gone through and done that assessment and have those critical spares online. The other thing was, in regards to that, was around the pipe and the amount of, just making sure that we had sufficient pipe in the, Southland ready for any issues that might come up. So, and particularly if the Middle East issues created issues with pipe, because it was specifically the potential that pipe might become a problem.
So is there a stockpile of some of this?
We have them. We do have additional pipe available. So
Presumably that could be anywhere in the country that we can access, or is it? Do we actually have it in Southland?
So we have so much. We have to have some on site so that we can easily do a repair and not go away and come back. So we do actually have pipe distributed throughout our network, and also in the depots. So yeah.
Thank you. I'll move along to, I see Hartley's hiding in the corner over there. You can.
Good morning, Your Worship and Councillors. Very much. I'll just go over a couple of the key highlights, predominantly around what our priorities are. As you're aware, 1st of July is approaching pretty quickly. Our top priority is really around our new Road Alliance contracts. We're on the advantage of 2 of the incumbent with 1 changeover, so the team are putting quite a bit of effort into the start-up phase of that contract, and with any new contracts, I'm sure there will be a few teething issues, but we're pretty confident with the weekly meetings that we're having at the moment on how things are progressing, that we'll be in a really good position. The other aspect is around our resurfacing contract, which went up last week, which is obviously a big chunk of the work that we do, and a big chunk of expenditure for this council. And then the last one is around activity planning, considering where we are with the long-term plan cycle, and as well as our funding cycle with NZTA, and having to rebid for the 27-30 funding year. So that's where a lot of the effort is going into and will continue over the coming months. We'll get our final bids in, initial bids in August, and then final bids in December. It's already been discussed today, so I won't labour it, is around some of the risks in terms of the costs aspect. Probably the key point there is maybe our next round of contracts for our next construction season, and actually seeing as those rates come through as we go out to market, the lingering effects potentially of the fuel is probably the only other comment I'll make on that. And It's probably, the key, from a financial point of view, project delivery team did comment a bit on some of our projects, like our rehab the sites themselves have been completed, but we have got some, they did come in under budget, so I'll look to carry those funds forward and actually have a slightly bigger, hopefully, depends on how those tender rates come in, have a slightly bigger program for our third and final financial year in terms of funding. But yeah, happy to take any questions.
Certainly. Do we have any questions from the...
Yes, please. Thank you. Hartley, I'm not sure I understand. What does this metric exactly mean, the 4.2% traffic management cost reporting?
Condition of our funding and ministerial expectation is that we have to report the percentage of costs towards traffic management versus the expenditure for that quarter.
Okay.
So if our total expenditure was $10 million for that quarter, how much of that $10 million percentage-wise was spent on traffic management?
What's an ideal number there? Practically though, what do they want to see? What's the trigger point for them?
There wasn't a trigger point created, it was a reduction is what we had to demonstrate. We're at the lower end and have been at the lower end since the beginning.
So is this like this 4.2, has this come down from a certain higher number, or is this our usual average?
Test my memory now, I think when we started the reporting, we were maybe around the 5%, but it's fluctuated, it's gone down below that, so we've been lower than that, and then we've obviously been a little bit higher, so some other counts or other reporting I've seen being closer to 15-20% around the country. So I think that the challenge is when you get to quite a low number is how do you retain that low number? But it does vary depending on the type of work that we're doing and where that expenditure sits.
Sure. Thank you.
Councillor Weston.
Through your worship. Hartley, you'll know obviously that particularly Raka Aparima is very concerned with the lethargy of NZTA, and I think that's not just significant to that local region but to the wider region here in response to anything like speed zone changes that really are safety critical, and we're not seeing them moving at all in terms of Riverton. And even the bridge, which is coming up 97 years, and they're saying maybe 2030, 2040. So it's going to be 120 years before they get round to what is a narrow bridge, carries all that infrastructure across. And it's not your fault. And you've been doing your bit to assist us, the community, in resolving this. But this huge lethargy of government in supporting us locally when transport's such a key element for us. I don't know what more we can do apart, but it's an extreme frustration, as you know, and we know you're supportive of all the initiatives we've done and commend you for it. But just to keep it forefront, all of us, we see it all around us, and our underfunding as well, which is the keyest element. Yeah.
It's kind of ironic when you look at the expressway up north getting an additional 12 kilometres added on, so that's new roading that's going to need to be maintained on an existing network that's currently suffering from maintenance, and something as simple as a speed change on a bridge kind of stuff is, and yeah, that focus on where the money comes from. Our money is paying for that extension on the expressway, and we're still suffering down here. So there's, we need to keep up the good advocacy.
Perhaps one more thing, if I might. Sure, yeah. I think it should be commended to recognise the level of bridge upgrades and that you've done, and reducing. We've talked about it before. We're really getting that down to single figures almost, aren't we? So. Really commendable for what's been done with the resources and the team, and you know, we're providing this to our very best ability that whole transport infrastructure for the community.
Definitely heard the need to keep focusing on the essential services, and so we're definitely doing that.
My question was going to be about bridges. Obviously I'm guessing that with projects pushed and shifted and stuff like that. Where are we at with our bridge renewal replacement sort of thing? Are we about on track? And
Is that in terms of our current work program or from a longer term?
I think longer term, if we're thinking about the ones that, obviously we know that Dipton was proactive.
Yeah.
And we want to move into that sort of space so we get stuff before it becomes obsolete and we have to put weight limits and things like that on it. Where are we, I guess, long term, how is that? Fairly ambitious. I think the figures from 2021 or something like that were like between 150 and 180 or something like that, yep. And there was sort of a 20-year plan-ish or something around there, the ones that needed done. Where are we sitting on that?
In terms of I don't know the exact numbers, but in terms of those bridges, the funding that we've got, we've pretty much got what we asked for the current funding round, and we've managed to progress replacing those bridges. So I'd say we're in a really good space at the moment compared, if you look back to your point 2021. So I think we're in a really good space from that point of view, as long as we keep up and keep on top of it. Some of those bridges are reaching a stage where, because of it, they were designed for a lower limit, they become a bit more difficult to replace under the current end-of-life strategy that we're currently using. So that's where, more from a resilience or productivity point of view, may have to look at a different, call it avenue for funding, go and call it that. But overall, as long as we keep on top of it as we are now, we're in a really good space. It's not to say there won't be something that crawls out of the woodwork as part of our routine inspections, but here and now today, we're in a good space.
Then just reflecting on your comment that we got about what we asked for, we're getting pretty good bang for buck out of that. Yeah, cool.
Yeah, very good value.
That's great, thank you, and thank you for the continued work. And I think we can always we can focus on things that aren't going well, but we also can celebrate things that are going well. And the program is going really well. So thank you, Hartley, and thank you. I set myself a mission to have this done by lunchtime, and I'm so far kind of achieving that mission. No pressure on the remaining couple of A3s. So environmental health and performance. And compliance. So welcome, we're Betty and Adrian. Not sure who wants to go first. Betty.
Hi, tēnā koe, your worship, tēnā koutou councillors. I'm just going to take my report as read, but I would like to draw your attention, if you had any questions regarding change of hands, and just expand on that a little bit more. That refers to, we've had an increase of businesses being sold and change of ownership. Answer any questions?
Well, one of the things that Betty hasn't mentioned there is the fact that a lot of people sell their businesses and don't tell us. So when we go to check up on them, we find, oh no, I don't own that business anymore. So we've got a bit of an education campaign going out to businesses at the moment just to keep us in the loop, because it costs time and effort, of course.
Looks like you're getting off quite rightly there. Thank you. And again, I think it's reflecting on the continued good work that's happening. That there's not really too much to discuss because it's kind of business as usual. Righto. Anything for Dave?
Well, through you, I'll take the report as written.
I think you've got the dog. I think it was mentioned in the customer service dog season coming up. We have seasons in council, so
we're just over 30% of the dogs registered already. We're ahead of where we were last year.
Adrian, resource planning.
Oh, sorry, Betty now. Sorry, Elizabeth now. Sorry.
I'll take the report as read, but also as the others, you'll see that for our RFSs and consent numbers are quite significantly up at the moment.
Any questions for Elizabeth?
Through you, Worship. I just had a question around the consent applications lodged and completed first. Just noticed there's a number there. I understand, once they're granted, incomplete, cancelled and so on. There's one there that says on hold. That looks like quite a high number there on 18.
So that may be a Section 92 further information or things like that. So it doesn't necessarily mean the processing has stopped. We're just awaiting further information.
Lots going on, eh? It's a busy space. Everyone's taken my challenge to be done with it. Last but not least is the building solution team.
Good morning, everybody. I'll take the report as read. Any luck? Obviously open to any questions. Through to April for the Building Solutions team, the biggest project we've done have been working on is the Objective Build launch, which has been running concurrently with the GoGet system, which was the predecessor. So we're now at this stage 100% operating in the Objective Build system. GoGet, which we continued to use for 3 months, is a manual system to take through all of the consents that were in that system prior to the changeover. That's now all completed and changed over.
Are we taking customer feedback on the system itself and how they found it?
The customer feedback, the customer portal hasn't actually changed. So it's a part of the structure of going with Objective Build was that the actual customer portal did not change at all. So our communications back to the customer have always been through Objective, or for a number of months, and also the inputs for them have gone through Objective Build. So that made that part of the transition much smoother. We kind of equated it to being a bit like a duck, that we wanted everything facing the customer to be the duck on the water, and we were doing all the work underneath.
The duck's moving in the right direction.
Duck's moving in the right direction.
Cool, thank you. Are there any other questions from the team? Cool. I thought Adrian might ask about a goat in the water.
No, not a goat. Objective Build, we have had some problems with the data coming out of the system with it, and it's reflecting incorrect figures. Like, we've done a lot more work in it, Sam, but we're nailing that at the moment. Michael and his team working with IT. But no, but it is a very busy time across the board.
Thank you.
Just one question, sorry. Maybe I just can't quite read the year to date, the team has completed a total of 143 inspections.
Yep.
Were there, and it's probably here, but I just can't, maybe I can't read it, but were there any issues around, or can you give me the figure of inspections that didn't comply?
Yeah, so that's BWOFs, the Building Warrant of Fitness. So realistically, there shouldn't be too many problems. We don't necessarily track how many didn't comply, but I'm happy to find out for you.
Yeah, it'd be just interesting because I'm assuming that a lot of these are based on new builds.
Well, this is a bit where it gets a bit transitional. So this is the compliance team. So this is existing commercial buildings that have to have a warrant of fitness. So we have to inspect those buildings to make sure they still have their systems in place. Things, like fire exit signs, whatever systems are recorded in their warrant of fitness. They have to maintain it, and much like a warrant on a car, they have to bring in an IQP, which is a qualified person, to come in, check everything, and then file that paperwork with us. And then also we go and do those inspections and say things like fire suppression, that sort of stuff.
The reason why it interests me is because in the previous report with the environmental side of things, with the DLA, the Liquor Licensing Authority, these two things are well and truly linked. So yes. That's why I was kind of thinking the correlation between the numbers of inspections completed versus some that may have had some indiscrepancies in that space. So,
No, we can certainly try and provide more feedback and break down on that.
Yeah. And one thing on BWOS, we've been working with Fonterra to do a self-certification scheme on the dairy sheds. So all of the information should be available to us through their IQPs. So what that means is they won't have us turning up once or twice to check the dairy sheds. We'll turn up maybe once every 5 years, provided we get the information provided. And we've run that with Frontier for about 2 months now. We've just got it going. So we're going to give it a few months and then we're going to reevaluate and see how it's going. So it'll save everybody time and money. And it means my building compliance team can concentrate on more pressing matters.
Awesome. Thank you. And just like that, we've finished in time for lunch. So thank you very much. So the legal recommendation is that we would note the information contained in the report, and I'm going to add a B because it seems to be consistent today that we thank the staff for all of the work that's happening in their space. And I'm going to move that from the chair. Do I have a seconder? Councillor Dobson, very keen. All those in favour, please say aye. Aye. Anyone against? That is carried. We'll break for lunch. Come back at 1:01.
No.
Okay, welcome back everybody. We're going to kick off the afternoon with page 229, the adoption of priority strategic risks, another report that we dealt with last week. I'll welcome Jane.
Thank you. So hopefully my report is going to be straightforward. I'm just seeking the adoption of the strategic risks for the next year to become operational in July. So this follows the annual review and the endorsement by the committee last week, which confirmed that the current risk set are largely fit for purpose, with a few minor amendments. So yes, I'm happy to take any questions, but otherwise the recommendation outlines the risk set we're asking for adoption today.
Thank you, Jane. And yeah, we did quite a good session on this last week. And are there any questions for Jane? Good. Yeah, we do have, seem to have a challenge of the longest recommendations today too. And like previous, so I'm not going to read through them because we did go through them in F&A, which consisted of all of us actually agreed to them just a week ago. So if there's no further questions or comments for Jane, happy to move A through to D. Do I have a seconder? Councillor O'Brien. All those in favour, please say aye. Aye. Anybody against? That is carried. Thank you, Jane. Right, next up we have the Better Off funding update on page 233. Now, I just want to draw Council's attention to there may be a perception of a conflict of interest here in relation to one that our Community Board Chair referenced earlier on in the discussion around the Better Off funding for the Lumsden Railway Station. And I'm a member of the Lumsden Heritage Trust, but I don't actually think there's no decision making or anything here, but just drawing that to everyone's attention, and I won't take part in any voting, just in case. Not that we're actually voting on anything other than receiving the report, which I'm happy to do. So I will now hand over to Simon, and we're on page 233. Whoever wants to go first.
Right, thank you for that. Just wanted to draw your attention to a couple of things in that paper. The project request that's still in draft is the one that we discussed last time, which is related to the Wyndham Camping Ground and the Ben Hewitt or Square project. So still trying to sort out the best way to achieve that with the DIA. But I don't think we're too far away with it. The other thing is in paragraph 3 there, the second bullet point, the pending payment on claims. So the 1.25 million there, that's in terms of the dollar value of the claims. It's pending because they were in various states of approval, so there's some layers of approvals that we've got to go through in between finalising the report, and in this meeting we've had notification that just under 1.2 million of that is sitting there with payment pending. So I'm expecting that we will see that before the end of the financial year. So that will bump up that amount received to, what would that be, about 3.4 million or something like that. So yeah, those numbers have just changed slightly. There is a traffic light sort of system shown in terms of the projects themselves, and yeah, good news is out of the original 28 projects that we put in, we do have 19 of those projects completed. So certainly getting there.
Yeah, more green than orange and red, which is good. there any questions for Simon? Anything you wanted to add for Bertie before
Thank you, Worship.
any questions for Simon? All pretty straightforward. I think what I was commenting about the wind event, it'd be nice to see the tail shortened, and this has been, like you say, improvement projects has been ongoing for some time, so we're getting to the tail end of it all. Cool. Well, we've got a very simple recommendation there that we note the information contained in the report. Someone happy to move that? Councillor Graney, seconded by Councillor Boparai. All those in favour, please say aye.
Aye.
Anyone against? That's carried. Thanks, Simon. Right. Turn the page. Waste advisory, been there, done that. Waste minimisation, been there, done that. Right. Report number 811, approval of the 26-27 community project scopes, which is on page 315 of our 705-page agenda. And we have, in the absence of Alex, I'm sure Sam's going to race up to the table. Do you want us to buy you a bit of time for Alex to come, or are you happy to?
Yeah, through your worship, that would be good, but I would, excuse me, Fiona, would Alex know that he sent an email? Perhaps, if you can give me 30 seconds.
Yeah, sure. I'll give you 15.
That was 3 seconds. G'day, Alex. No worries.
Loitering in the wing.
You're working on scoping documents, please.
Scoping documents, apologies for lateness printing. Thank you for your time, everyone. So I just want to run through some key points quickly as to what we're up to, and also latest developments as a result of the community board meeting last night. So team are proposing the 26-27 community projects, 50 of them, 57. Of those are locally funded, about half, and district funded the other half. The process we've followed is all relevant scopes have gone to community boards over the last few weeks, and I've attended most of those meetings to confirm and discuss and debate the projects moving forward. They are obviously part of the LTP. It's been a really interesting process actually, where some key themes which are identified in our report have emerged. These are quite typical when you've got projects that were set a couple of years back and how things change. So I don't want to go into any details unless people want to, but there's been lots of discussion about the why and how we're aligning with master plans, for instance, different views on larger projects such as buildings, also fleshed out some consent issues as well that may emerge that we weren't necessarily aware of, maybe causes of changes of legislation or previous scoping not picking things up. But it's been good debate and scopes have been adjusted accordingly. So some of you may observe that some of the scopes have still got work to do, so I apologise for those, but they are quite a moving feast. So really we're asking here for these to be considered and confirmed for the next financial year moving forward. And as part of that, we've also been reviewing the public convenience programme. So that, as per press article I note the other day, has been highlighted with a proposal of the workshop to bring down the previous budget for public conveniences of 3.72 million down to 2.26 million. Of that, we've had some good commentary and clarifications regarding proposed operations at Northern and Waihopai Toto community boards in terms of the Garston toilet scope changing slightly depending on what we may come across. So some funds that can be potentially reallocated elsewhere, and also a recommendation that emerged last night for Curio Bay toilet, campground toilet, to be pushed to the 27-28 financial year in line with LTP and also in line with the expectation of the master plan to land fairly soon as well. So noting there's some minor works to be done at that site anyway, but that's a 25k variation to our proposal. One thing that we do ask people to consider is the delivery programme for our public convenience programme.
as we've got about 17 projects that do move around a little bit, we're suggesting a degree of flexibility around budgets of plus minus 15% to allow for flexibility and maybe realise synergies and delivering packages rather than individual projects as we go. There's an opportunity there, we think, and it also gives us a little bit of flexibility in terms of how we schedule work, particularly if we're chasing 267k of funding for top Riverton and 2 attack Victorias. But I say that within making sure that we stay within our proposed ceiling of 2.26 million. So that's just for public conveniences, not other community projects though, because they, I think, are a lot more varied and you won't necessarily get synergies. So that's really my one pager for what we're trying to do, and I hope you note our recommendation.
Thank you, Alex. This is a really good piece of work. I think the devil's in the detail, and like I've said before, there's plenty of detail here in this agenda, but it's really good. And having witnessed even last night, the community board being able to cast its eye over the district funded projects and doing that at the initial scoping stage. When we look at the success of Monkey Island, and the board chair from Discovery was referring to that earlier on, I think we're going to have a lot more successes like that coming through, getting the board across all of the projects, particularly the ones in the area where we're getting that local connection coming through at this stage. So yeah, I just want to acknowledge it's been a considerable piece of work to get to this stage, but I think it's going to deliver good outcomes on the other side. Are there any questions from Councillor Dawson?
Thank you, gentlemen. Page 323. Sam, I've spoken about this in the past. The Waikiwi Yard. There's 2 projects in there: remove the hedges and build new fences, and then the options analysis for future facility provision. Just want to speak to that second one. What is that? Is that a I guess the scope for that, is that still a work in project for that facility provisions? Is that a case of hanging on to it? Is it a case of consolidate that elsewhere, etc., etc.?
Through your worship, we originally looked at doing a feasibility study based on storage for apartments across council, because it is a big yard, and we have started cleaning it up with the assumption that we could potentially lease some of that land. However, when we got we went around the different departments, and there wasn't a lot of interest in terms of having storage out there. And so that $10,000 project we will probably cancel. However, we still need to look at the fencing. When we went out to the market, the fencing costs came in a lot higher than we had budgeted for. So we're going to have to readdress that piece of the work. There is still a lot of material out there that needs to be dealt with. There's a lot of scrap that we need to look at, and we have been working with the transport team and the Three Waters team, because it sits with them, and that will free up a whole lot more space, and also allow us access to the hedges to get them removed.
Yeah, I'm just wondering, in long term, is it an asset that we want to keep and maintain, or is there?
We definitely need to maintain some of it, because the community maintenance team operate out of it. And that was one of the things we were looking at, was upgrading their facility, so they had a far better facility to operate out of. In the interim, we have done a lot of maintenance on that building and tidied it up, so they are in a better position now. There has been expressions of interest from other organisations in terms of wanting to be able to utilise that area, but we haven't gone down the track of any sort of negotiation or anything like that until such a time as we had it fenced off, tidied up, and understood what other teams wanted to use it for. Yeah.
Cool, thank you.
Any other questions? I guess the question, just from a logistics point of view, is now the time to raise scoping type questions on this, or if it's within the budget cap, because obviously we've just approved the annual plan as well. I imagine those scopes can still change slightly as long as there's not a material financial implication, but I guess that's part of what you're talking about, Alex, with the plus and minus 15%. So one may go up a little bit, and if one goes down a little bit, you can move things around. But I guess just in terms of if anyone's got any major concerns about any of these projects, is now the time to raise them, is my question.
Through your worship, this is the perfect opportunity if there is something design related or scope related on those scopes for you to raise those, and we still have the opportunity to. In a number of projects, there'll obviously still be some further engagement and design work to go. So it doesn't set every minute detail in stone by any means, but this is the opportunity for you to bed down that high-level scope document. So we're very open to hear any feedback on any of those scopes in the order paper.
Is it worth progressing through them project by project? Do we have the appetite to do that, or is everyone pretty comfortable with what we've already done? Yeah.
Through you, Worship, I think the fact that they've actually been through the community boards is probably of a, unless anybody had any burning questions. I know it was something our community board discussed in quite a bit of detail on Monday when we had our meeting, so.
It doesn't feel like anyone's got any major scratch.
Your worship too, we picked up some feedback earlier about that limited flexibility within public convenience in particular. So that'll help our efficiency in terms of delivery on time. But as Alex has pointed out, we've been very specific that it only relates to the public conveniences and within the 2.26 million and not beyond.
And sorry, Councillor Roy.
Just to comment, and this is looking at the feedback coming from the ratepayers around the Otauto area about the council building and what you're going to do with it, such a big one. And now that the project for the refurb, I think it's 240 or some such figure. If you could have good comms at that time, it would go a long way in allaying people's concerns about what shape or form that office is going to end up taking, what's going to be the final, because it just takes very little for things to get out of proportion as to what is the spend going to be. Perhaps if we have some sort of a program about that would be very useful, even if it's, say, just in the first edition or giving on some announcements at that time. Because there are many people who are worried about it being a multi-million-dollar spend. I don't know how that came to it. Thank you.
And I guess that also highlights the importance of bringing the reporting back through the boards as well, because it gets that localised exposure to what's actually going on. So is there a general comfort with resolution E with that plus minus 15% around the table? Seeing lots of nodding. Because I think even going forward with our other projects as well, there's always been a bit of tension around the unbudgeted expenditure piece, and then getting that kind of balance right between, and I think the better we do the scoping, the less likely we get that as well. So I think this natural progression will lead us into a better position, but yeah, it looks like there's a high degree of comfort around what's been put forward. So if there's no further questions. And we've got a new G from last night's press. So we're agreeing to the recommendation from the Waihopai Toitoi Community Board that the Curia Bay Toilet Renewal Project is undertaken as soon as the Curia Bay Master Plan is approved, aiming for year 1 of the 27 to 37 LTP, i.e. the 27-28 financial year. So if we're comfortable, is that sitting up behind me? Didn't have to read it out after all. Councillor Keast.
Indeed, I'd like to say delivery of the toilet. The first year. Delivery of the facility. We want it just going to be clean and physical and here.
Community board that was delivering.
Well, you could just say renewal project is delivered. Well, it's undertaken. Do you want to change the word undertaken to delivered? undertaken.
Just through your worship, just one clarification. So we have a, correct me if I'm wrong, team, a $25,000 planning budget proposed for this annual plan. I would suggest that if the desire is to construct the toilet in year one of the LTP, that we retain that budget so we can do all the planning and lead-in work. It would be later in the financial year, given the master plan process is underway. But if we retain, we'd be looking to come and talk to you quite rapidly. We've got the 1st and 8th of July, excuse me, to talk about our budgets.
That was my point, thanks, Sam, that
Excuse me.
what we're talking about here is only planning.
Correct.
It's not delivered. So, probably, like, whether they're...
So the delivered might not be right in there. I think it's just referencing to the actual project rather than the planning. So are you happy with that in relation to that?
Well, this is the project scope in the document, so not wanting to confuse delivery of the, so
Saying that
I probably just should shut up.
Well, saying renewal project is undertaken, which is, yeah, so the project is undertaken rather than the planning for the project is undertaken. So I think that covers it. Cool. Do we have a mover for A through to G? Councillor Winston, second, Councillor Spring. Any further discussion? All those in favour, please say aye. Anybody against? That's carried. Thank you, Alex. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much.
Thank you. Right, moving right on. So we have 4 reports coming up into our 9.2 assessment of community access to drinking water and wastewater services. 9.3 3 waters operations and maintenance contracts, and 9.4 for executive annual. So we've got the reasons outlined for each of those reports in our agenda. In the interest of time, I won't read through them all. I'll take them in. Do I have a mover that we, Councillor Dobson, seconded by Councillor Graney? Any discussion on that at all? There being none, I'll put the motion. All those in favour, please say aye. Aye. Anyone against? That is carried.